From the Toffees to the Tractor Boys, the Eagles to the Seagulls, Gunners, Bees, Hammers and Magpies, Premier League teams have got a load of crazy nicknames. Ever wondered where they came from? Let's start with Everton. They're dubbed the Toffees, but why? Well, because when the club was formed, just down the road there were two local toffee shops. Ye Ancient Everton Toffee House and Mother Noblet's Toffee Shop were big fan favourites. Next, they say if you can't beat 'em, join 'em, and that's exactly what Ipswich Town did when it came to their nickname. The term Tractor Boys used to be chanted by their opponents as a way of putting the team down for their farming background. But during one game back in the late 90s, Ipswich were 1-0 up and they decided to flip the script. 1-0 to the Tractor Boys, they sang, and a new nickname was born. Let's head to Leicester, famous for more than just a red, well, orangey cheese and Jamie Vardy. Leicestershire is also the birthplace of fox hunting, hence the Foxes. Next up, turns out apples are not the only fruit that don't fall far from the tree. Bournemouth's nickname, the Cherries, comes from the fact the club's stadium was originally built right next to a bunch of cherry orchards. This next story actually involves two club nicknames. It started with Crystal Palace. They were having an absolute nightmare run back in the early 70s. They'd been relegated after a terrible spell and manager Malcolm Allison decided enough was enough. He wanted a new nickname, something strong, fast and destined for success. Something exactly like an eagle. But there's more to this one. Brighton were in search of a nickname too, and Palace finally gave them what they needed. In a heated match between the two back in 1976, Palace fans began chanting, "Eagles, Eagles." And some clever Brighton fans came up with the perfect reply, "Seagulls, Seagulls." Not all club nicknames have a crazy story though. Take the Gunners. That just comes from the fact a group of munitions workers in the Royal Arsenal factory in Woolwich set up the club in 1886. On the flip side, some nicknames seem simple, but there's a bit more to them, like West Ham. The Hammers is actually nothing to do with the ham part of the name. It comes from the fact the club used to be called Thames Ironworks FC and was made up of workmen and shipbuilders. So next time the away end's chanting their crazy nickname, you'll now know exactly where it came from.
Hello and welcome to Kickoff on talkSPORT. A huge night for the Tartan Army. We're going to keep you right up to date with Scotland's winner-takes-all clash with Denmark as they look to book a spot at the World Cup for the first time this century. Tonight from 8 p.m, we're going to take another look at the cost of football. This time our focus is on the price of tickets. EFL fans, are you paying too much to see your team play away from home? Maybe even at home itself. We're going to bring you the latest on the crazy World Cup ticket prices as well. If you want to share your views on it, drop us a text on 81089. Of course, we're going to look back at England's perfect qualification for next summer's tournament. Is Thomas Tuchel mismanaging the country off of the field of play? We'll dissect the discussions over a certain Jude Bellingham. Also, where could Antoine Semenyo end up next after his Bournemouth release clause is revealed? And can Arsenal cope without Gabriel, possibly for 2 months? This is Kickoff on talkSPORT. And as ever, if you want to give us a call, the number, as always, 03717 223344. I'm Hugh Woozencroft. Good evening. Hope everyone is well. I'm already feeling a bit nervous, a bit tense for Scotland tonight. Scott Minto, Chelsea FA Cup winner, is alongside me. Well, that brings me on to the nerves before a big game. Before it's kind of a cup final, right? Winner takes all. Scotland absolutely against Denmark. How do you think the players are feeling now in the final hour before kickoff?
I think they'll be very nervy. I mean, this is the worst part of a big game, building up to a big game. You just cannot wait for the game to actually start. And obviously, it's a bit of a cliche, but the nerves do go once you start running around and kicking the ball. But this bit now, there'll be butterflies in the pit of the stomach. You know, they kind of got away with it, didn't they, after what happened with the weekend?
Yeah.
And now it's a massive game. It's in their hands. It's all the pressure on them, and it is on them. It's at home. Tartan Army obviously waiting for them to say, well, somehow we found ourselves in this position and a win, and we are through to the World Cup for the first time since 1998. That's the long answer. In the short answer, they're absolutely...
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah themselves.
The thing is, it feels
careful what I
like,
say.
you know, you're watching, let's say, the final of Wimbledon, and one of the players gets a couple of match points, championship points, right? And you're just like, they have to take this opportunity here and now, because you never know what's round the corner. You don't want to be thinking about the playoffs. And if Scotland don't win tonight, yes, the playoffs will await. They will have another opportunity, but they're 90 minutes away from the World Cup. It's here, it's in front of them, it's Denmark, it's a beatable opponent, very much an opponent who I think measures up nicely against Scotland. I think just about anything could happen tonight, but they're at home, they're at Hampden Park, one game away from their first World Cup since 1998. I think they just have to grab it with both hands.
Well, they do, and I think it's really important. I've been listening all day and listened to Charlie Adam and Paul Lambert as well, and I know people think that actually... Well, you're paid professionals, not necessarily paid to play for your country, though they do get a fee, but you should be able to deal with it. But I cannot overemphasize the importance of fans generally and the part that they can play, especially in big games. I genuinely think the power of the fans, if they stay behind their team when things aren't going well, if they're 1-0 down, they can turn it into a 1-1 draw. If they're 1-1, they can turn it into a 2-1 win. And the fans can then go home and say, do you know what? I played a massive part in my team or my country getting through to the next stage or whatever it may be, in this particular case, the World Cup as well. So I think it's absolutely crucial that however they start, the Hampden Park faithful are right behind them from start to finish.
Interesting team news for Scotland tonight. Lyndon Dykes coming into the attack in the place of Che Adams. Scott McKenna replaces Grant Hanley at left centre-back. So it's Craig Gordon in goal. The defence, Hickey, Suter, McKenna and Robertson. Ferguson and Christie will anchor midfield. McGinn, McTominay and Gannon Doak will be behind Lyndon Dykes, who leads the line. That is the 11 placed with taking Scotland to a World Cup for the first time since 1998. We're going to have updates for you throughout the evening from here at Hampden Park. Like I say, I feel the butterflies. I can't imagine what it's like for the players building up to that game and the fans as well. So Scotland fans, if you're on the way to Hampden Park, drop us a message. Tell us how you're feeling. 81089 on the text.
And we can say that we actually, even though we're both English, we both want Scotland.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, I can understand why they don't like us. I mean, but I want them to do well. Yeah, of course. You know, history. History. You're not going to tell the Scots that they should love England, are you? I mean, that's the most controversial opinion I've probably heard on
I'm not saying they should. I'm just saying that we want Scotland to win.
We do.
It's interesting how, not many Scottish people admit that they want England to.
We've had a few on talkSPORT give us a call and tell us that they're England fans.
Part of the UK, come on.
Maybe they want to do that tonight. Let's talk very quickly about England. A few things for us to dissect. A perfect record, flawless in World Cup qualifying. Victory over Albania meant that it was 8 wins from 8, 22 goals scored, none conceded. How impressed have you been by the way that England have gone about their business in World Cup qualifying?
Yeah, I think Thomas Tuchel has done really well when you think about sort of last summer where we were, and even the Senegal
3-1
performance.
Yeah.
I think, look, what we've done is, I think you can't give much less than a 9 out of 10, maybe even a 10 out of 10. You won every game. You've not conceded a goal. You've beaten everything that's been put in front of you. But I think we all know that you could be England manager, and I've got
well,
England through.
Andorra, maybe. I don't know about the others.
No, and I don't mean that disparaging by any stretch of the imagination. I just mean the players we got, the group that we had, and we all thought Serbia would be the difficult one, and proven not to be the case. So actually, it wasn't a tough group, but all in that time, Thomas Tuchel was trying to find, not just on the pitch, but off the pitch, the right blends, right formation, who's going to mix well with who. And I think what we've seen, up until now is job well done. But he will be judged on 3 games, the quarter-final, the semi-final and the final, if we get there. Because Gareth Southgate's done it. He's done the semi-final, he's done the final. Thomas Tuchel's been brought in to actually win the thing now, and it's not going to be easy in those conditions. But what I would say is he's done great, but we've seen it before in 2010 under Capello. And then look what happened in the World Cup. So, look, job done now. Let's get the right squad. Let's get the right team. Let's get the right 11 players in. Let's get our best players in. Let's get them all on board and then make sure he manages them really well.
I feel like there has been the clear things, an improvement. You know, from the first game, which obviously we won, to the last victory, I think England are a more fluid side and clearly have an idea on how they want to play. You know, it's understandable with Thomas Tuchel coming in that he wasn't really sure what he gets out of each player. And obviously, in the time working with them, I think his picture is quite clear, which is obviously a big positive for England. The other thing is I think there's a level of confidence now. Hopefully it goes to arrogance because I think our players are that good that we can go to the World Cup with a little bit of swagger. Their record's been very good in international tournaments, even when they haven't played well. But I do think you need to be a confident side arriving at the World Cup if you're going to win it. You have to have that strong belief that you can go all the way in the tournament. And actually the way that they've qualified, you know, aside from the opposition, you know, not even a goal conceded, a perfect record, gives you that sense of being able to stick your chest out a little bit as you go into 2026, the March camp, the warm-up games. You know, England should be feeling very, very confident. They're not quite purring yet. The football isn't unbelievable, isn't out of this world. It might not need to be to win a World Cup, but it's definitely getting to a higher level every time they go out on the pitch. You feel like there's no chance England are going to lose this, and it's really about how well they win. I think that's a real sea change from where he started.
Yeah, and absolutely, because we've seen England teams win before, and it's just been like, oh, how boring was that? But at least even if they're not the most exciting games, and some of them have been, and certainly in terms of the way they've played, and you know, we look at how well, you know, I think Elliot Anderson has come in and shown that actually he really can be a starter in that World Cup first game. It's going to be interesting to see what he does with the two number 10s.
Let's talk about it. Well, we're going to come to the two number 10s in a little bit because we're going to be talking about Jude Bellingham, the way things have gone for him on the pitch and off just after the break. So we'll hold the number 10 conversation, but there are some question marks for Tuchel. I actually wrote down centre-back and Harry Kane's backup, but it's a very good point you make about the makeup of the midfield because there is a glaring, for me, it's still a glaring decision to make around who kind of partners Declan Rice, if you want to call it that. Obviously, the number 10 question is up in the air as well, which basically means we don't know what England's midfield will be.
It shouldn't be, but we'll come on to Jude.
But it's true, right? Elliot Anderson did impress. It's a weird one because he's not yet at the level that you think he's undroppable or a guaranteed starter. He's obviously been very impressive. But when we get to next summer, do you think Elliot Anderson does start in midfield for England?
So I still think, and it's not going to happen now, so I'll just say this once and we can move on. I still think something has to be sacrificed in terms of Jude Bellingham has to play. If Cole Palmer's fit and playing really well, he has to play. And then you put Declan Rice in a 6 role rather than the 8, and you lose a little bit from Declan Rice there, but you've got to compromise somehow, and someone's got to lose something, because I think Jude Bellingham and Cole Palmer, if they're fit and firing, for me, they're our World Cup winners, along with Harry Kane as well.
Does that make England less defensive? Give them that, you know, they haven't conceded.
No, because I think Jude is that good, and we saw 2 examples when he came on the other day, where he almost played like an 8. He picked the ball up, he won the ball, picked the ball up from his own half, and then he ran with it, and he played the assist to make the assist that ended up with Eza, who 1 scored, and then 2 he didn't. But my point is, he was playing like that number 8, and he absolutely, I feel he's that good, he can do that. Again, we won't talk too much about Jude, but my point is, that's what I would do, but it's not going to happen. Okay, so Declan Rice looks like he's going to be that 8. Who's going to be the 10? Well, we can discuss that. But Elliot Anderson, not just in terms of what he's done for England, but if you look at the stats for Nottingham Forest as well, he's leading not just Forest, but the Premier League in terms of his passing, his vertical passing, the way he's quite happy to touch the ball and receive the ball with someone around him, and that he is almost that perfect holding midfielder that now, just over the last 6 to 12 months, is getting better and better and better at an incredible rate, to the point where, as I say, I don't think it's going to be what I would like to see, because I still think Jude Bellingham can be that 8, and I think Cole Palmer obviously can be that 10. But Anderson is absolutely smashing it, both in the Premier League. What is a difficult time in the Premier League for his club, but also for his country.
We'll get on to talking some more about some of the big questions facing Thomas Tuchel. We will, of course, discuss that number 10 role in more detail. Jude Bellingham, Morgan Rogers, Phil Foden, Cole Palmer, who's it going to be? All of that coming this hour here on Kickoff. We'll look ahead to Wales' game against North Macedonia as well. You're listening to Kickoff on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. It's 18 plus, gambleaware.org. Listening to Kickoff on talkSPORT. Hello, I'm Hugh Woozencroft. Alongside me at Chelsea FA Cup winner Scott Minto. A reminder tonight, a huge opportunity for Scotland to reach their first World Cup since 1998. They face Denmark at Hampden Park. They know a win will take them to next summer's tournament. We're going to have updates for you throughout the evening here on talkSPORT. A reminder, at Lyndon Dykes starting for Scotland in place of Che Adams, and Scott McKenna coming in at the back in place of Grant Hanley. Denmark's team news, Rasmus Højlund is back to lead the line. He missed the last game through illness, but as you might expect, a lot of familiar faces: Schmeichel, Christensen, Anderson. Christensen, who used to play for Chelsea, of course, at Barcelona as well. He's playing at centre-back. Christensen, formerly of Leicester, plays at full-back. Dorgu's in there. Isaacson, Hjulmand, Froholt, Højbjerg, Damsgaard and Højlund is the 11. But they are very comparable teams in terms of quality, and it should be a fantastic game. So we're going to keep you right up to date with that, as I mentioned, throughout the evening. Wales have the luxury of a playoff place already being assured, similarly to Scotland. Belgium lead Group J by 2 points. They're heavily fancied to book their World Cup spot tonight when they face Liechtenstein, but Craig Bellamy's side will host North Macedonia at the Cardiff City Stadium, needing a win. Let's get the team news from Lawrence Mora.
That's right, Hugh, and they need that win to propel them into the playoffs and give them a home tie. That is the prize at stake for Craig Bellamy's team. Draw or defeat will leave them in pot 4 and facing an away match at the likes of Italy, Turkey, Ukraine and Poland as things stand right now. That team news, Wales are struggling a little bit for numbers, missing key players right down the spine of the team. Ben Davies and Kiefer Moore miss out through injury. Ethan Ampadu and Jordan James are suspended, having picked up yellow cards against Liechtenstein at the weekend. That means that Harry Wilson captains Wales for the first time. He's one of 5 changes from that win at Liechtenstein. Brennan Johnson, David Brooks, Liam Cullen and Josh Sheehan, the other players who come in. Mark Harris, Sorba Thomas and Nathan Broadhead dropping to the bench. So it's Darlow in goals, Nico Williams, 19-year-old Dylan Lawler, Joe Roden and Jay De Silva across the back. Sheehan, Cullen and Wilson, that'll be the midfield trio. Dan James, Brennan Johnson and David Brooks, the front 3. North Macedonia are going to be a really tough nut to crack this evening. They've conceded just 3 goals in the group so far, and they've drawn home and away with Belgium. Bellamy boys will have to be absolutely ruthless this evening. At the Cardiff City Stadium, it's Wales against North Macedonia.
So we've got the team news. How will that affect the odds? Let's get an update with Ladbrokes.
Odds update on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. Get a free bet every week of the season and a big boost every day. That's Ladisfaction. Minimum £5 bet. Conditions apply. 18 plus gambleaware.org.
And it's a big hello to Chris Woods from Ladbrokes. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. How are you guys?
Very well
Chris,
indeed.
thanks, mate.
Looking forward to tonight's football. Let's start with Scotland against Denmark. Lyndon Dykes in to lead the line. I don't know if that increases their chances or not. Maybe Che Adams a little bit more dynamic, but the big man's up top. Do you expect him to deliver?
Well, I think he's more there to provide a physical presence. I'm not sure it's all about his goal threat. I think Che Adams probably provides that slightly more. But I think he'll bring other players into the game, like Ben Doak. Ben Doak's available at 10 to 1 to score the first goal, 4 to 1 to score any time. Obviously, he'll have McTominay running off him as well. We've taken a few bets on him today. We've had to chop his price to score the first goal in at 7 to 1. He's 11 to 4 to score any time. I think the more of the team use was sort of prevalent on Denmark's price. I heard sort of rumours about a virus in the camp. Mm-hmm. Obviously, they look pretty strong tonight, so they've actually come in a little bit into 11 to 10. Scotland are out to 5 to 2. But I really think it's going to be a night for sort of the big name players to step up. McGinn, they're going to rely on him a lot. He's available to score the first goal at 10 to 1. And Andy Robertson as well. It's a massive price at 40 to 1. You just sort of imagine if it's 0-0, 10 minutes to go, he'll be striding forward. For Denmark, the main threat's going to be Højlund, but Dorgu loves to get forward for Denmark, even more than he does for Man U. He's available at 18 to 1 to score the first goal, or 11 to 2 to provide an assist. And Christensen, who's playing at right back up against Ben Doak tonight, looks a reasonable price at 18 to 5 to be shown a card. That's probably where I'd be looking tonight.
Yeah, Robertson assist. I think that's a good chance.
Robertson
tonight.
assist. Yeah, no, he's an 8 to 1 to have an assist. Yeah, definitely couldn't put you off that.
What about Wales against North Macedonia tonight? Again, as we just heard, a few players missing for Wales. Does that put them under the 8 ball a little bit?
A little bit, but I really like the team tonight. I think he's gone really, really positive. Like Brennan Johnson, Harry Wilson, David Brooks and Dan James. I don't think Wilson will be in midfield. I think he'll play as as part of a front three, maybe behind Brennan Johnson. Brennan Johnson's there at 6-1 to score the first goal, 21-10 to score any time. Harry Wilson could cap his sort of debut as a captain for Wales. He's 5-1 to score the first goal, 19-10 to score any time. I think the overs goals there is interesting at 10-11. I think obviously North Macedonia are difficult to break down, but Wales do look like they're going attacking tonight. And they've kind of got a free hit. They've got that sort of safety net of the playoff place. They could get themselves a better position with a win tonight. They're 3-5 to win tonight. The draw's in at 3-1, and North Macedonia are 9-2.
Saw some big names added to the World Cup last night, the likes of the Netherlands, Portugal as well. Where are we standing in terms of who's favourite to lift that trophy next summer?
Yeah, Spain are still strong favourites at 4-1, and I think that's pretty justified. England are next in at 6-1. Obviously, just look like they're improving, coming to the ball at the right time, and we have got a fantastic squad now. It looks like a real chance. France are next in at 13-2, and then you're into Brazil, who just look woeful at the moment. They're 15-2 to lift the trophy. Argentina 8-1. Portugal, you just mentioned, 11-1. Netherlands are 16-1, and everyone's dark horse at the moment, Norway, 25-1. I don't think that's going to last a lot longer either. I think they're going to come in a little bit more. And the two home nations playing tonight, Scotland, you can have it 250-1, and Wales are currently 500-1.
Okay, all right, Chris Wood, thank you very much indeed. That was a look at the latest odds with Ladbrokes. It's 18+, gambleaware.org.
Odds update on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. Get a free bet every week of the season and a big boost every day. That's Ladisfaction. Minimum £5 bet. Conditions apply. 18+, gambleaware.org.
England 6-1 with our friends there at Ladbrokes. Intriguing for me. Listen, they're always going to be heavily backed by punters here in England, of course, but I had felt for a while that England had very slim chances of lifting the World Cup.
You feeling it now? You feeling it?
It's tough not to get swept up, isn't it? No goals conceded, 22 goals scored. It's going to be hot. That's all I can say. It's going to be hot. It's going to be difficult for England's players next summer.
It's going to be hot and humid, and I don't think the conditions suit us at all. But there are some English players at Chelsea who know what it's like to go to America and win a World Cup as well.
Against the odds.
World Cup, against the odds. Look, I think you hit the nail on the head. We're in England. England are going to be heavily backed. But it has been, so far, so good. I'm not quite getting swept up as yet. But there's no doubt about it, we do have the players to win the trophy.
Absolutely. We're going to talk about some of those players up next, the likes of Jude Bellingham, and where all this criticism of him has come from. That's next here on talkSPORT.
A first World Cup spot since 1998 is on the line for Scotland tonight. Beat Denmark and they'll earn the Tartan Army a spot on the plane to the US next year. But ex-midfielder Barry Bannan believes they'll have to tidy up on their recent performances.
I think the last few games at Hampden, they've let teams come and have too much of the ball, and that affects the fans then as well. But I think tonight's a different occasion. I think the fans will be there the whole time behind them, and that can be a powerful weapon for Scotland tonight.
Meanwhile, Wales play North Macedonia later, but need Belgium to lose at home to Liechtenstein if they're to avoid the playoffs. A win for Craig Bellamy's side would ensure they play at home in the semi-final, though. Over in the Lionesses camp, Serena Wiegmann has insisted she has no regrets about choosing Hannah Hampton over Mary Earps for the Euros. Speaking for the first time since Earps released her book, Wiegmann admitted she can't change the way Earps feels about her decisions.
What my reality is, someone else's reality can be different because how you experience things, that's very individual. I just know what I want to do is create an environment where we speak up, where I give clarity, where I always communicate with players when it's necessary.
Elsewhere today, Norwich have confirmed the appointment of Philippe Clement as their new manager, and England fast bowler Mark Woods has come through his first pre-Ashes fitness test and is set to play in Perth on Friday. There's more at talksport.com.
Listening to Kick Off on talkSPORT. I'm Hugh Woozencroft. Alongside me, Chelsea FA Cup winner Scott Minto. We're discussing England this hour, and we've got on to the man whose name is on everyone's lips, Jude Bellingham, and the criticism that he's received from many quarters this week, and the backlash, I think, those reacting to some of that criticism, calling it unfair. It was after his actions when being substituted for Morgan Rogers on Sunday night. I mean, I didn't really see it myself. I mean, I tried. I think he kind of threw his hands out. It wasn't too aggressive. It wasn't too overt. It wasn't too angry, but it suggested more disappointment than anger in my view. But we'll talk about it. He did receive man of the match. Some people complained about that as well. Let's hear from Simon Jordan, our very own. He gave his thoughts on Jude Bellingham and believes the media need to do better.
It's also not a media's job to take people down, but there is a delight in that. And there's been many occasions.
But how are they doing that?
Well, I think there's an element, a section of the media, not all of the media, and I'd like people like Ian, when they make these observations, to be bolder and say who they're referring to, because it's easier to be very global in your observation, then you don't get made accountable for it, do you? But I do agree with the principles of what he's saying, that you're building up, creating, and the very existence of shows, full stop, and the content delivery mechanisms that require people to create outcomes, whether it be anti-Scottish dislike in a football tournament, or it be Jude Bellingham. Jude Bellingham is a remarkably successful young man.
He's brilliant.
A precocious talent that should be celebrated by this country.
He's a phenomenon. He
should be celebrated.
Yeah.
And the balance between pulling him up for legitimate misbehaviour and going after him for silly little indiscretions like getting upset when he's getting substituted is what we're talking about here.
Simon Jordan, our very own there. And the Ian he referred to, of course, is the Arsenal legend Ian Wright, who responded to some of the criticism around Bellingham, calling it a false narrative. He said the media need to create this kind of beef because there's nothing else to talk about till the World Cup. So it's going to be this all the way to the tournament. They hate that they can't get to him. They hate they can't influence his career like they've done to so many before him. A blessed young man with talent and love in abundance. To two contrasting opinions, those that criticise Bellingham and his actions, and obviously the likes of Ian Wright, who are very much in support of him. Where are you?
And Simon as well.
Yeah.
I was here in the studio on Saturday before the game, and I was saying, look, this is a kid who has come through the ranks at Birmingham, and within a few years was in pre-season, and I've got my Spanish sources and I speak to them on a regular basis, bossing multiple Champions League winners around in his first pre-season. And then what happened? He scored the goals that he scored. He made the impact he made. Real Madrid won the trophies they won. And he's become, in the biggest club in the world, an absolute superstar. We should be absolutely celebrating him and being proud of his achievements and the fact that he's English, And I believe if he doesn't, I've been holding myself back from the first part, Hugh. If he doesn't play, and we can go into it in a bit more detail. I don't think he should play every game because I think he's one of those all action that genuinely can play everywhere. And Ian Danter texted me a little bit in the break when we were talking about it, because I said I believe he can play as an 8. And I know a lot of people want him as a 10. Some even want him as almost as a 9 because they just want him as close to the goal as possible. But he said Jude's coaches at Birmingham gave him the number 22 shirt because they felt he could play equally effective as a 4, 8 or a 10. And when you add them up, it comes 22. So what I'm trying to say is he can play absolutely everywhere. And he's almost like the Brian Robson, who I think is one of the greatest players this country's ever produced, because he can literally do everything. He can tackle, he can pass, he can score, he can head, left foot, right foot. He's brilliant at what he is. Brian Robson's perhaps a bit more left-footed, but my point is he can do absolutely everything. And my worry is we need him peaking in those quarterfinals, semi-finals, finals.
Yeah.
Is there a question as to whether he should start? For me, no question at all. Is there?
What do you make of the criticism of him, though? Like his actions in the game and the response, media and public-wise?
I think because he did just enough in the Euros and no more than that. I think, and because of the way he exudes and comes across, it's almost as if he has no weakness, and I'm sure he does, but he clearly hides it very, very well. But again, this is a kid who's gone to the biggest club in the world and just absolutely bossed it. What do I think of it? I think it's people looking for something that just isn't there. I do think Thomas Tuchel's trying to not teach him a lesson, but teach everybody a lesson, that you do everything how I want it.
Yeah.
And if you don't go down that route, then there may be problems. I mean, what was the word he used, Thomas Tuchel?
He said that his mother found some of his behaviour repulsive. He then apologised for it, saying
he did, but his English is very, very good.
Yeah. But it's not his first language, so
not his first language. It's better. I'm going to give him. I'm
going to give him the benefit of the doubt.
He knew what the word was, but perhaps didn't quite realise the repercussions of it.
Yeah.
But I think there's still a little. As much as I think it's ridiculous what the press are trying to do, I think there's still a little thing, as a little almost battle here that Tuchel's trying to say, I need you to do whatever I say, and Jude's a bit like, oh, hold on a minute, just let me be, and I'll drag England towards winning the World Cup. And I think we should be 100% behind him. He has to play, but also he has to be looked after during the World Cup. But what do I think about the press and that? I think they're looking for something and trying to make it as big as possible, because there's not many England players that would react in the way that he has when he got taken off. So there's the little thing we can have a go at. But it's ridiculous.
I think some of the reaction, the likes of the opinions and stuff of Ian Wright, is a reaction to a legacy of tearing down players that we've had in the England squad. For me, there's several reasons why individual players have been targeted historically. I mentioned to you earlier, sometimes, and this is probably going back to the 90s, late 80s, early 90s, but maybe affected the likes of Wayne Rooney and Paul Gascoigne in that they were, and I know their actions weren't perfect. I don't think any players are perfect. Any human being is perfect. But I think there was a real kind of, back in the day, the red top tabloids and going through, people's bins and looking for stories and having private detectives following them around and stuff like that we were looking for stories around the likes of a young Wayne Rooney, around the likes of Paul Gascoigne, who we know had his issues during his playing days, and those sold papers at the time. Things I think have gone to a much better place subsequently. But we have also targeted those that transcend just football superstardom. The likes of David Beckham. Obviously, he just became so famous, his personality just went to a whole new level, that obviously any story about someone like that sells. And that's where I think Bellingham might be, in that he's now becoming so famous as Jude, as an entity, that I think it's all about him. We've got to get it, stories about him. I'm not saying comparatively about football, but obviously if you get a great scoop about Cristiano Ronaldo in Portugal, that's going to sell. So you're going to be looking for those if you work in media. The same with Lionel Messi in Argentina. It's obvious. And although we have a number of famous players in our team, I think as a personality, he's probably moving ahead of the rest of the England squad.
Oh, he's the number one.
Yeah. And the third is obviously race, where we've targeted players previously based on race. The likes of Rashford, the likes of Sterling have fallen into that category previously. I don't actually feel like that is what is happening with Bellingham here.
I don't either.
I feel like it's the second category. I think he's just becoming such a big figure for English football that people are after him.
Yeah.
Like we say, we build people up and then we tear them down. That's the legacy of some of the negatives we've had in media over the last 30, 40 years when it comes to the England football team.
And you've mentioned some players there, again, some of the greatest players this country's ever produced, but they've almost given the press something to chew onto. And Jude hasn't done that. You know, he's almost been the ultimate pro. He's gone to Real Madrid, the biggest club in the world. I worked on Spanish football for 4 years, game in, game out, and realised, still didn't properly fully realise, but just began to scratch the surface of what it's like to be playing at Real Madrid and Barcelona, but Real Madrid in particular. He's 22 years of age. He's gone there. He's a Champions League winner. He's a La Liga winner. He's one of the most important players in the biggest club in the world. And again, I go back to the fact of what would I do? I mean, I'm trying to scratch under the surface and think, I don't get it. I just don't get it. So what is that here?
I did say, remember, I don't know, those of you that listened to us on Kickoff during the last international camp, when all the conversation was around why Bellingham wasn't there, I did say then, I felt like this camp, in terms of PR, externally at least, coming out of the FA, coming out of the England squad, this camp had to be about the message of unity between Bellingham and Tuchel, and it's gone the other way. From my perspective, that's been mismanaged by the FA and by Tuchel. Now, he doesn't have to say glowing compliments about Jude Bellingham and his behaviour, and Bellingham obviously wasn't perfect during this England camp either. But when you know that people are fishing for a story about a particular player, Thomas Tuchel has the option of being very defensive about Bellingham, very complimentary, going over the top to make sure everyone knows that everything's sweet between he and Bellingham. He did not do that.
So why?
He didn't do that.
That's my point. Yeah. This is a manager who, I'm sorry, I don't believe in this particular case you can talk about the race card here, because he's someone who he's picked black players for clubs. He's picked Morgan Rogers in front of Jude Bellingham here. So for me, it's not about that. And I've had a couple of people sort of mentioning that to me. I don't believe that is the case in any way whatsoever. But this seems to me, and I think it's got to come from both sides. As much as I think Jude is a phenomenon and he's just incredible and we should celebrate him, at the same time, it's almost has to come from both of them. If there's a perceived, whether it's true or not, if there's a perceived issue, then both have to come together and almost just make it look like, you know, you're coming off, perhaps you don't react like that. You know, that would be my advice to him. But it's a very small thing and I don't really care. But, you know, give Thomas Tuchel a high five or whatever. It just comes, it's got to come from both sides. But Thomas Tuchel is the manager of England and he's the one who has to sort it out with our star player. Look, I say he's our best player. I think Harry Kane's our most important player because I think the drop-off from him to anybody else is the biggest because of the number 10s that we have and how good it is. But Jude Bellingham, if we don't have him in fine form, we're not winning the World Cup.
Well, my issue with it is it does have the ability to derail England somewhat if that situation isn't sorted out. And for me, the easiest way was for basically Tuchel to give us platitudes about Bellingham. Just smile, whether you believe it or not, and say, he's my guy, he's my number one, and he didn't do anything wrong, and everything's great, and you guys need to stop trying to look for something.
Yeah.
Instead, he was like, well, he needs to react better. And listen, he's allowed his opinion, and actually, I think he had the right opinion, but it's about how you present your relationship with Bellingham. He needs to be very sensitive around anything he says publicly when it comes to Bellingham, because he now knows. He must have read the stories this week. He saw what the reaction was when he left Bellingham out. Surely you know everything that happens around Jude Bellingham is going to be micro-analysed, and it doesn't seem like he cares. It's almost like, well, whatever.
No, I don't think he doesn't care. He knows what he's doing. He's not just.
So he wants Bellingham to be micro-analysed.
He's not just a world-class coach. He's an incredibly intelligent guy who's doing this for a reason. Us on the outside don't really understand why he's doing it. But for me, there must be some kind of reason for him to say, for the bigger picture of us getting together and winning the World Cup, to be Team England, both on and off the pitch, he must feel that he needs to, whether it's to actually have a go at Jude for Jude, or whether it's to say something with Jude for a message for the whole group. I don't know. We're on the outside. We just don't know. But he knows what he's doing, Thomas Tuchel. He's an incredibly intelligent guy.
Okay. All right. We'll be back here on talkSPORT very shortly. We'll discuss the future for Antoine Semenyo. Remember, Wales kicking off at 8 o'clock, 15 minutes to go against North Macedonia, and Scotland facing Denmark. We'll have updates here on talkSPORT throughout the evening. You're listening to Kickoff on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. It's 18+, gambleaware.org. You're listening to Kickoff on talkSPORT. Hugh, Woozencroft and Scott Minto are with you. Former Chelsea, West Ham and Benfica defender underway at Hampden Park. Scotland 0, Denmark 0. Wales facing Macedonia at the Cardiff City Stadium. They've started well and they've just had a volley go just over the crossbar from David Brooks. We'll have updates very shortly on that. We'll give them 4 or 5 minutes to get into the game before we head to Lawrence Mora or Ian Danter on the Scotland-Denmark game. But let's take a look now at the latest football action with Ladbrokes.
The big preview on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. Get a free bet every week of the season and a big boost every day. That's Ladisfaction. Minimum £5 bet. Conditions apply. 18 plus gambleaware.org.
And we're going to discuss Bournemouth's Antoine Semenyo, who's on fire, let's be frank. His release clause is set at £65 million for this coming January, and it will drop lower than that after the end of the window. There is a time factor on that, so it doesn't go right until the end of the window, that £65 million. Both next summer and in January, you would have to trigger that some way through. We don't know the exact date, but not certainly. It gives Bournemouth time to find some sort of replacement. So probably halfway through the window, you can get Antoine Semenyo for £65 million, which feels a decent price given what he's doing in the Premier League at the moment. The clause allowed Bournemouth to keep Semenyo heading into this season. They'll fight to keep him in January, they say, but they're realistic that an exit is possible given his good form. Spurs and Manchester United considered Semenyo over the summer. They understand Liverpool hold an interest heading into 2026 as well. Let's hear from former Manchester United and Watford goalkeeper Ben Foster, who gave his thoughts on Semenyo's release clause.
For him, it's an absolute snip. He is an absolute player as well. Talking about everything I just said about Elliot Anderson, same sort of thing. Work rate, seems like a really good lad. Scoring goals, assists, team player. There'll be a lot of teams sniffing him. Bournemouth, I'm pretty sure they'd be braced to be losing him, I reckon.
Well, we'll come back to Antoine Semenyo in a moment. A massive night for Scotland. 3 minutes on the clock, and there's been a goal. talkSPORT's Ian Danter.
Scotland 1, Denmark 0. Scott McTominay on the mark for his 14th Scotland goal. Ball on the right-hand side of the area, and what a finish from the Napoli man. An overhead kick back to goal, round about the penalty spot. Schmeichel couldn't get near it. A quite superb finish from Scott McTominay to give Scotland the perfect. London 4 gone, Scotland 1, Denmark 0.
I think Kenny Dalglish needs to beware, to be honest, because Scott McTominay might one day go down as Scotland's greatest ever player. I'm just putting it out there. This guy is unbelievable. That is an incredible goal in a match of such magnitude for Scotland. 3 minutes in, what a goal.
Mate, honestly, that is just outrageous. Why would you try something like that? It's not going to happen. And yet he's someone who, since he's gone from leaving United, his career has just gone on the upwards trajectory so much. And look, the way that the cross came in, it just goes to show the confidence he's in right now. Again, he's almost just try and head it down or maybe try and chest it and see if he can lay it off to someone. But for him to try that overhead kick inside the box and actually the connection of it as well, I mean, what a start, what a goal. King Kenny is King Kenny. He's got a long way to go with that. But I'll tell you what.
All right, I might be running away with it slightly, but listen.
He might not by the end of his career.
If that's the goal that takes Scotland to a World Cup, there's going to be a whole new generation of Scotland fans that will be thinking, he's our guy, Scott McTominay. Anyway, back to Antoine Semenyo very, very quickly. £65 million release clause, an absolute bargain, we heard Ben Foster say a few moments ago, speaking to talkSPORT. Do you think Semenyo will be on the move, and where do you think would suit him best?
Well, it's really interesting, and I've covered Bournemouth a couple of times this season, and I mean, he would just be, I'd be having, you talking about being nervous before a game, I'd be nervous before about to mark him because he's got absolutely everything. He's quick, he's skillful, he's strong, he's balanced. He can play off both feet. And I did a little, I spoke to someone at Bournemouth ahead of one of the games. He wants to watch his clips back. So he's one of those real keen learners who wants to get better and better all the time as well. He's quite happy to keep the width and just try and open up the game, which really suits what the manager wants. He's also got a long throw in him.
He's got everything.
Which is quite contemporary right now.
Saves penalties, yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. Wow, I mean, he has got everything. So for £65 million, I mean, it could be that Bournemouth, they sell to Liverpool, they sell to PSG, they sell to Real Madrid, and they could be selling to another top Premier League club. The only thing is, we're trying to work out where he would go.
Who would fit most, yeah. We had a little look at Spurs. I mean, there's going to be a few clubs who spent around the £60 million mark who are going to be thinking, why did we wait 6 months? Because, all right, Elanga had a good time at Nottingham Forest. He went to Newcastle United, hasn't yet really got into a black and white shirt in terms of the same success he had. But you're thinking, Xavi Simons, 60 million to Spurs. Mohamed Kudus, similar price from West Ham to Spurs in the summer. I mean, someone like Anton Semenyo, for me, would probably be that's the club that need him most, I think, right now.
Oh, yeah, but would he, with the greatest respect to Spurs, think that that's the move that I want to be making? I mean, the only thing I'd sort of say is Arsenal, we know we've got the strongest squad and they've got lots of players going forward. You could say the same about Liverpool as well. I know you're saying they're interested, but I don't think going forward is their problem. It's defensively they need to try and sort it out. Manchester City, we were going through the wide players, and when they've got Doku, they've got Oscar Bob, they've got Savinho, possibly with Semenyo. I do look at, I'm now looking at fourth place with Sunderland. I'm not quite going to go there. Even Chelsea, I mean, Chelsea love a wide player.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't necessarily 100% rule that out.
Bit too old for Chelsea, isn't he?
Yeah, maybe.
Leonardo DiCaprio of football clubs.
Maybe. But I think if Spurs could somehow... And look, the owners have come in. They've got rid of Daniel Levy and said, like, we're going to be more on the front foot now. So, again, what a statement that would be if they were able to get someone like him.
Manchester United. I think they need Antoine Semenyo. If they've got the money, they should probably go and get him. Because as much as Cunha's hit the ground running and Mbeumo's been absolutely fantastic, there isn't depth. And what they've brought, which Manchester United needed, is intensity and dynamism going forward and speed, right? And Semenyo has all of those things in abundance. An eye for a goal as well. That's what they've added with Cunha and Mbeumo. If they could do that again, have a third player who gives them that little bit of depth as well, why not? Champions League next year, mate.
We'll see. They've got Bruno, who obviously could step back up to being a number 10. They've got Mason Mount as well. So I think they actually have that strength in depth. I think what Man United need is that kind of dynamic midfielder in one of the sixes rather than someone like an Antoine Semenyo. So it will be interesting. I mean, look, he just needs to keep his head down and keep on playing and see who does come in for him. What I would say is he's a top 4, top 6 player the way he's playing at the moment.
Okay, Antoine Semenyo possibly on the move in January, if not next summer for sure, I imagine. That was all thanks to Ladbrokes. It's 18+, gambleaware.org.
The big preview on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. Get a free bet every week of the season and a big boost every day. That's Ladisfaction. Minimum £5 bet. Conditions apply. 18+, gambleaware.org.
So, as it stands, Scotland are on their way to the World Cup, which I can't quite believe I'm saying. What about Wales taking on North Macedonia in Cardiff? talkSPORT's Lawrence Mora.
Wales 0, North Macedonia 0. 10 minutes on the clock here. 2 decent chances for Wales early on. David Brooks volleying over the bar in the first couple of minutes. A really good burst forward by Brennan Johnson. Brooks, though, just couldn't get over the ball around about the penalty spot, and the ball going just over the bar. Then Dan James scampering away down the right-hand side. His low cross into the box was scrambled behind for a corner. So a decent start for Wales. And North Macedonia, very defensive. Only conceded 3 goals in this group so far. But I think they fancy their chances with Wales' weakened midfield, and they're coming out to play this evening, which could be good for Wales. It's Wales 0, Macedonia 0.
Much more still to come. We've got a special for you in the next hour. We're going to be looking at the cost of football once again, this time very specifically on ticket prices. If you've got a view on it, drop us a text, 81089. Are you paying too much to watch your club? That's next on talkSPORT.
Football fans all have stadiums we love, but do any of us have a pitch that we love? It might sound like an odd question, but pitches can be different sizes with big consequences. Why is that? And what are the actual rules? Back when association football started, pitches could be up to 100 metres wide and 200 metres long. That's longer than Ellen Road. Not the pitch, the stadium. Anyway, UEFA wanted a standard across Europe for international matches, which became 105 metres long and 68 metres wide. But some clubs had been rebels, not intentionally, but because of the stadiums. Take Highbury, for example. It was 5 metres shorter and a metre narrower, meaning away sides had a challenge to adjust. White Hart Lane was exactly the same. And actually, when Spurs temporarily moved to Wembley, they asked the FA to shorten the pitch. The FA, very offended by the sacrilegious suggestion, said no, which in fairness could have actually benefited Tottenham because when they moved into their shiny new stadium, the pitch was exactly the same size as Wembley's. Today, Forest Pitch at the City Ground is a big one. It's 2 metres wider than any other pitch in the Premier League. But the smallest of all, Craven Cottage, just 100 metres long and 65 wide. No excuse for not tracking your man. There are a couple of crazy outliers in Europe too. At Napoli's home ground, the Stadio Diego Armando Maradona, the pitch is a whopping 110 metres long. At least they don't play on a slope like Newcastle do. There's a 2-metre incline on the pitch at St James's Park. And don't get me started on the old pitch at Yeovil too. It used to be a slant of 2 metres corner to corner and across the halfway line. So UEFA have their standards, so do the FA, but they do give pitches in England some wiggle room. Pitches can be anywhere between 90 and 120 metres long and between 45 and 90 metres wide. I mean, the rules state you can't have a square pitch, but in theory you could have one that's 91 metres long and 90 wide. Imagine rocking up to play a Sunday League game and the pitch is basically a square. So there are rules and regulations on sizes, with a UEFA standard that roughly everyone follows, but as we all know, size doesn't matter, does it?
This is Kickoff on talkSPORT with Hugh, Woozencroft and former Chelsea and West Ham defender Scott Minto. A huge moment at the Cardiff City Stadium. There's been a penalty. There is a penalty. The ball's on the spot. Lawrence Mora.
The ball is on the spot and the referee is about to blow. Harry Wilson, Wales captain for the evening, steps up, left-footed, drills it into the bottom corner, and Wales have the lead. It was David Brooks who had charged into the penalty area. He had his heels kicked by Stojkoveski and went down. It was an absolute stonewall penalty, and that is what Wales needed after a bright start. Captain Harry Wilson has fired them in front from the penalty spot. Wales 1, North Macedonia 0.
It's pain. It's going too well. I'm now getting concerned.
You've gone from nervous to worried now, aren't you? This is too good.
Wales 1-0 up against North Macedonia. Scotland 1-0 up against Denmark. It's going swimmingly for the home nations this evening, and we'll keep you right up to date here on talkSPORT. But for the next hour, we will be talking about the cost of ticket prices for football fans. If you've got a view on it, you can give us a call. You can also drop us a text message on 81089. You'll remember earlier in the year, talkSPORT produced a special insight focusing on the cost of being a football fan. The show looked at things like ticket prices, but also at TV cost, travel and merchandise. Well, tonight we're going to carry on the conversation because at the end of the international break, many England fans are now going to be looking towards the World Cup draw next month. This is set to be the biggest World Cup in history, but are fans really aware of the sheer amount of money it's going to cost for them to watch football come home? People are going to think about starting to save up now But how can you do that around the busiest time for fans, of course, the Christmas period, especially if you're a supporter in the EFL, because some away trips cost more in the EFL than they do in the Premier League. And when is that going to be changed? We're going to ask that question this hour. We'll also talk about the demand for football tickets as a whole. They're so unprecedented that resale ticket sites have increased. But when clubs are partnering with them, does that really send the right message that loyalty is probably being taken for granted once again? So like I say, we're going to discuss that for the next hour or so. You can share your views on text at 81089. If you want to give us a call as well, we'll put you on if it's a great call. 81089 on the text, 03717 223344 if you'd like to give us a call. We're going to tell you firstly about the cost of World Cup tickets because it is very expensive. We know the tournaments in the USA, Canada and Mexico. The breakdown of costs still being finalised, but operational costs for the event projected to be around $2.5 billion. Now, England supporters could potentially spend around about £2,500 on tickets at a moderate price alone if they want to see England play in virtually every game next summer. Parking costs are also at an astronomical level. Some parking spots cost more than some of the Category 4 tickets for the games. A rough estimate for group stages. Category 4 tickets, the lowest price, $60 to around about $105. The most expensive, between $410 and $620. Let's speak to Danny Navarro now, who's known as the travel football fan, football in Spanish. Live from New York, he joins us. Really appreciate you being with us. Good evening.
No, of course. Thank you so much for inviting me here today.
I really appreciate you being with us. We're going to pause for a second because we've got another goal in Cardiff. Lawrence Mora.
Wales 2, North Macedonia 0. The Cardiff City Stadium is alight because David Brooks has volleyed this into the far corner of the net. It was really good play by Wales, switching from left to right. Called Jay De Silva, played a ball inside the fullback. Brennan Johnson racing to it, gets to the byline, left-footed back, and there was Brooks to volley down into the ground and into the far corner of the net. Craig Bellamy's team had the absolute dream start. 21 minutes gone, Wales 2, North Macedonia 0.
It looks like an injury for Scotland as well. Kenny McLean coming on. Ben Gannon-Doak with his head in his hands. He'd been playing really well. Looks like he's picked up an injury. And that will be a blow for Scotland on the evening. He's being carried off on a stretcher, the Bournemouth man. Sorry, let's go back to Danny Navarro.
No worries. Brendan Johnson, come on, you Spurs.
You're a Spurs man. Good to know. Listen, let's talk about what it's been like for you. I know you've chronicled every step of the way when it comes to FIFA's announcements for ticket prices, what they're going to cost, you know, when the tickets are going to be on sale and to who. How would you describe the process as a whole so far?
Shambolic, embarrassing, scammy. If just to prevent the lawyers from coming after me in that respect. Quite frankly, the fact that FIFA has not released an official price list of the tickets during phase 1 or during phase 2, or for the folks that were doing the FIFA Collect right to buys, I think just tells you everything about this ticket buying process. If there is no transparency about the ticket prices, I mean, how am I supposed to help fans with budgets, with money expectations as to how much they should expect to spend on travel alone, much less on the tickets? It's just been really embarrassing to see how low FIFA has gone in basically pulling off this tournament for the fans.
Danny, bear with us for another moment because there's been another goal at the Cardiff City Stadium, maybe being checked, but let's get the details from Lawrence Mora nonetheless.
No, it definitely stands. Wales 2, North Macedonia 1. That's punctured the atmosphere slightly. It's the Rangers striker, Miovski, who's managed to get it. He broke the offside trap. The player on the far side was off, but Miovski's run was timed perfectly past Joe Rodon. And then as Carl Darlow came off his line, he slipped over the goalkeeper, and the ball gently rolled past him into the back of the net. Well, Wales, that's a check there. Great start, but 23 gone. Wales 2, North Macedonia 1.
And they need to keep fighting, see if they can re-establish a 2-goal lead. Scotland still have the lead at Hampden Park, but the ball's just been in the back of the net. Let's get the details from talkSPORT's Paul Mitchell.
Oh, that was a horrible moment for Scotland. Everybody held their breath, but handball was given. The shot came from just 6 yards out, but Scotland still lead thanks to that wonderful Scott McTominay goal early on in this match. What an atmosphere at Hampden. It really is something else here tonight. Scotland on the verge perhaps of a second as McGinn comes forward, floats it into the area, but it's taken by Kasper Schmeichel. Scotland still leading by 1-0.
It was Rasmus Højlund who had the ball in the back of the net, smashed it into the roof of the net. Decent finish, but yeah, it was adjudged to have hit a hand in the build-up. For the third time, let's go back to Danny Navarro.
This is what I live for. This is what I live for the International World Cup qualifiers. I'm from Colombia, and I understand the whole vibe of the last match day and just how exciting or devastating it could be for fans.
Interesting. We're going to talk about fans travelling from the countries from the like of Colombia a little bit later
at least
on.
Colombia have qualified.
Exactly.
That
is true.
My wife is Colombian, Danny.
Oh, awesome.
Listen, we were talking about the prices and just the way that FIFA have gone about this, the dynamic approach to tickets. If people don't know what dynamic pricing is, essentially the more people in that queue, the more the prices go up. Is that the right way to have approached this World Cup?
Absolutely not. And actually, FIFA even went out of their way to contact me to tell me that it's actually variable pricing, not dynamic pricing. The only difference is that they delay the change of the ticket prices as opposed to having it be in real time. But if you look at phase one, when the first 2 days of those ticket sales began to happen, FIFA scrapped their whole, we'll wait for the next phase to change the ticket prices. No, within 2 days, you were already seeing ticket prices be increased for certain matches in the United States, the U.S. Home matches, which I do believe are insanely priced. I mean, for a team that, at least from a sporting perspective, has not really achieved much. And, for the whole idea of let's grow the sport in the United States, you're not growing the sport by charging people $2,000 to go see the home team play. It's absolutely ridiculous. And so it's just the entire process has been really bad from the transparency standpoint, from the fact that even before phase one, if y'all remember how between September 10th to the 19th, which was that period where people had to register for that first phase, there really wasn't a lot of information being provided by FIFA on how to do that registration. And then from September 19th to the 29th, there were 0 emails that were sent out to fans, at least here in the United States, about how phase one was going to work. But every single day there was an email about the right to buys for FIFA Collect, which in and of itself has become a quagmire of, you have to convert this digital item to this other digital item before you get an actual ticket. Oh, and by the way, you can only buy Category 1 and Category 2 tickets. You're not getting the cheapest ticket.
I mean, for those that don't really
know
know what FIFA Connect is, tell us a little bit about it. You're basically trying to get yourself on a priority list.
That was it. That was how it was sold. But really, over time, it's become this NFT shop, in effect, where fans were supposed to buy these fast passes, if you think about it that way, not to confuse it with today's announcement of the Visa Fast Pass, but just to fast track your way to quote unquote the front of the line. But in reality, you just got placed into another line with no real idea whether you are in front of everybody else or not. And because of all the money that you had to spend on these NFTs to then be able to buy tickets, I think a lot of fans assumed they were going to have access to Category 3 or Category 4 tickets, and instead they got access to the most expensive tickets. So they're paying on top, say, for example, the Mexico City matches. Some of these right to buys were going for $2,000, $3,000. Now you also have to spend another $1,500 for the Category 1 tickets.
Crazy.
It's really been a way that FIFA was able to finesse a lot of fans out of their hard-earned money.
Crazy.
Danny, there's a lack of information here. There's NFT type tickets there. There's variable, not dynamic tickets. I mean, how can you actually get out of them, or how can anyone? How can we hold FIFA to this and say, look, you need to be much more transparent here? Will it happen as we get towards the World Cup, or will they just hide behind the FIFA wall?
No, it'll hide behind the FIFA wall. I mean, let's be completely honest. It would have to take, the England FA to say we're not going to the World Cup and the fans to not go to the World Cup. I had to take multiple FAs and fan bases to not go. And then, of course, you have to then get some of the South American teams to also say we're not going to this World Cup either. You know, like us Colombians over here, we showed our numbers here during Copa America last summer. We're going to go and support our team here in the States. It would have to take that level of effort to force FIFA to have some sort of transparency. Unfortunately, where we're going to have to operate, it's in this environment where you have a collection of content creators like myself, journalists, and just regular old fans on Discord, prying all of this information and compiling it all together in order to produce what FIFA should be giving us in the first place.
Just wanted to ask you very, very quickly, because you mentioned you had a Colombian background. We've heard the Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem with a thinly veiled threat to fans this week who are coming over, saying that they need to leave the country in a timely manner. There seems to be a rhetoric building that people are going to come for the World Cup and not want to leave the United States.
Yes.
Obviously, we've seen what's happened with ICE and the targeting, I guess, of people with a Hispanic background, whether they're meant to be in the country or not. Do you fear, as someone with a Latin American background, that there could be issues?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I've been accosted by those officials, and this was years ago. So I unfortunately have an immigration story, even though I'm a U.S. citizen, born here in the United States, that has impacted me personally. So, of course, I think it goes without saying that if you're a fan from Latin America or from the global South, let's put fans from Africa, from Asia in this conversation as well, you might be racially targeted. And that is a reality that you have to have in mind. And what I encourage folks to do is to travel in groups, have the phone numbers of your consulates, have a number of an immigration attorney. This should not be information I should be giving out for a World Cup travel. Like this, completely honestly, it should not be it. But that's where we are in America as a society right now. And, you know, for better or worse, this is where we're at. And we're just going to have to navigate it. If you're not comfortable navigating through this space, then, you know, there's also Mexico and Canada. And I think I want to reiterate how fun and entertaining those matches in those two countries are going to be, albeit they have less games. But their fan festivals are going to operate all 39 days of the World Cup. That's not the case in the United States. Only 5 of the 11 host cities will have 39-day fan festivals. So if you're concerned about, you know, these issues that are real life issues that are really impacting a lot of members of my community here in America today, then go support the Canada and Mexico World Cups.
Brilliant. Danny, we really appreciate you joining us. That's Danny Navarro. If you want to travel to the World Cup, he's a man you do have to follow because he'll have all the info. So if you've got social media, it's Travel Football Fan. So it's FUTBOL fan. Make sure you do check him out. Really appreciate you joining us live from New York. We'll have much more. We'll be talking about ticket prices in the EFL straight after this. I know a lot of you have an opinion on that. You're listening to Kickoff on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. It's 18+, gambleaware.org. You're listening to Kickoff here on talkSPORT. This hour, we're dissecting the current cost of ticket prices. If you've got a view on it, particularly in the EFL, you'll want to hear our next guest, so stay with us for that. We'll be speaking to the Football Supporters Association, especially about the cost of away tickets for EFL fans. But let's check in with tonight's World Cup qualifiers. We'll start at Hampden Park. Have Scotland improved in their performance against Denmark? Paul Mitchell.
Not really. It's Scotland 1, Denmark 0. Goal coming early. Scott McTominay with a wonderful overhead kick beating Kasper Schmeichel low into the corner. But certainly the last 10 minutes, Denmark have had the chances. They had the ball in the back of the net through Rasmus Højlund, but there was a handball in the build-up. He also missed a glorious header from a corner. That corner resulted from Andrew Robertson actually heading the ball wide as well. Nearly put it past Craig Gordon as well. So nervous times round Hampden Park, but I'll tell you what, with Scotland leading, many people around here would take that. Scotland 1, Denmark 0.
Wales have just come very close to re-establishing a 2-goal lead. Lawrence Moura.
Yeah, it's Wales 2 as Brennan Johnson! Wow! Wow, what a time to join me as Brennan Johnson cuts in from the left-hand side. Shows a little shimmy on the penalty area. Right-footed, just outside the penalty area. He has cracked a drive into the top corner of the net. Absolutely wonderful stuff by the Spurs forward, and he was a wonderful goal. He picked it up right on the touchline, cutting in on his right foot just outside the penalty. Wow, that is a finish. Hugh, that is some timing to arrive at the Cardiff City Stadium. And moments ago, Nico Williams had a shot saved by Dmitrievski. A brilliant stop by the goalkeeper, low to his left-hand side, tipping the ball onto his post. Wow, Wales now have their 2-goal advantage back after Harry Wilson and David Brooks had scored earlier in the half. And the Cardiff City Stadium is a much happier place than it was a few moments ago. And 37 minutes, it's Wales 3, North Macedonia 1.
Well, that is the absolute best of Brennan Johnson. He had 3 or 4 players in front of him, but it was just relentless positivity. He decided, I'm going for this. Not just, the fact that he took the shot on at the end of it, but he had to drill past 2 or 3. He was very positive with the ball and got his rewards.
Well, one, we should tell Danny Navarro about that, because he just mentioned him.
He's delighted.
Before, so he'd be really, really happy. And 2, it's interesting, isn't it? Because he's almost seen as like an out-and-out right winger in the modern world of inverted wingers, and yet what he did there, coming off the left, going past, as you say, 2 or 3 players, and a wonderful strike. I still think Spurs haven't really nailed it on the left-hand side, and I just wonder if it's worth giving him he's had a few games there, but actually just give him a proper run of games and see if he can produce. That was a wonderful goal.
Little swap deal for Anton Semenyo, as far as I'm concerned. Well, but anyway, let's continue our conversation about the cost of ticket prices. Let's talk about EFL clubs. The Football Supporters Association say over the last 12 months that its member supporter groups across the EFL network have been collating away ticket prices, and the data shows that there are problems in many areas. Away ticket prices in the Championship vary significantly, and there are too many clubs, they say, almost half the division, that charge over the Premier League's £30 cap for away tickets at certain times. Let's get more on it with James Young, who's part of the National Council representing EFL clubs for the FSA. Good evening.
Evening, chaps.
You're also a fan, of course, of an EFL club in the shape of Cheltenham Town, so you will know what it's like going away. Let's talk about the Championship specifically and going over £30, because I think a lot of fans will be a little bit surprised with that. Why would the Championship want to charge more than Premier League clubs for away tickets?
Well, I'm sure the Premier League clubs will probably want to charge more, but they have mandated a £30 cap. It was part of the an FSA campaign back in 2014 to bring that in. So far, for all the attempts to try and get something similar in the EFL, the EFL themselves are quite keen, but the clubs aren't. And as we see, particularly with the revenues in the Football League, nowhere near they are in the Premier League. Unfortunately, clubs just try to rinse every single pound they can out of the most loyal fans, and there's nothing more loyal than somebody who goes to away games.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those where it's not just the ticket, is it? It's the travel, it's possible accommodation. People see it as a full day out, and the game just being part of that. So when you add all that up, food, program, etc., travel, accommodation, it's just absolutely mind-boggling how much people have to spend, and at a time where it's a really difficult, there's not many people with disposable income at all. I mean, I look at the first game after the international break, and it's Coventry-West Brom. It's a game that I'm doing, actually, so I'm really looking forward to it. Coventry will charge £45 for the away side. They've also put the same price on their Boxing Day clash game as well against Swansea. What's your response to that?
It's shocking. It's 50% more than you pay to go and watch Liverpool Man United in the away end, and there's really no need for it. I think in any type of economics, when demand outstrips supply, you can charge what you want. But in the majority of cases in the Football League, the supply outstrips the demand, and so there will be maybe empty seats in that ground that day for a really good Championship game. And every empty seat is a kid who's not going to the game. It's somebody who's been to Coventry for 50 years who can't afford to go, and it's not being able to. And I think the thing is with the English game, we sell the atmosphere, the joy of going to the football and having the banter between home and away fans adds so much to the spectacle and to the product, and we're risking that going away of people not being able to go to watch the football as a live event. Football isn't meant to be watched from the armchair; it's meant to be watched in the ground and from the terraces. And if we're stopping people from doing that, then we're going to hurt the game eventually.
How do we change things for football fans? I know there's a lot of talk around what effect the independent regulator is going to have on football in England. Is this something that you would expect them to have pretty strict rules on and maybe change?
I don't think that there are people at the FSA, the nerds in the FSA, they won't mind me calling that, who would know the ins and outs of what the regulator's scope is. I'm pretty sure that individual ticket prices is not something that they can do. They will be looking at the financial health of the game, though, as a whole. And I think what we're seeing is a bit of a race to the bottom in the fact that clubs are trying to force up their revenues to pay for increasing costs, and the whole football ecosystem probably needs a bit of a reset to mean that the prices, the amount that you're paying out to footballers isn't increasing exponentially, because at the end of the day, it's the most loyal supporters, the ones, and particularly down the league. I'm a Cheltenham fan, as you mentioned. Cheltenham Town on the day charge £29.50 to away fans. It's £2 cheaper if you buy the ticket in advance, but that's 50p less than that Man United Liverpool example. They say that they rely on the ticket money, and of course they do rely on the ticket money, but there's got to be a way to rationalise the costs and make the whole of the football ecosystem a bit more sustainable. That's the problem. It's just that the costs are running out of control.
Indeed, they are. Really appreciate you taking the time to join us. That's James Young, part of the FSA on the National Council, representing EFL clubs, and I'm sure a loyal Cheltenham fan as well. If you want to share your stories around particularly going to away games, fans in the EFL, let us know what it is like and how much your costs are, what you would like to see your club do to possibly change things. Drop us a text on 81089. We'll be talking to Kieran Maguire, of course, from the Price of Football podcast, about the truth of resale sites straight after this. So stay with us on Kickoff.
Cricket balls are red, baseballs are white, American footballs are brown, and tennis balls are yellow. We don't even think about it really, but the story behind the tennis ball is actually quite interesting and even involves Sir David Attenborough. I know, here's the tale. Tennis has its roots in 12th century France when people used to make balls from all sorts. Cork, wool, chalk, animal fur and even human hair. Uniformity was found centuries later when people started making balls out of
You're listening to Kick Off on talkSPORT. I'm Hugh Woozencroft alongside Scott Minto, the Chelsea FA Cup winner. Very shortly, we'll be speaking to Kieran Maguire from the Price of Football podcast. We'll find out what the truth is behind resale sites when it comes to your tickets. If you've used resale sites to buy a ticket, tell us about the process and what you feel about them being used at the club that you support. You can drop us a text on 81089. The half-time whistle has gone. Wales trying to secure a home playoff for a place in the World Cup, taking on North Macedonia. The latest at the break with talkSPORT's Lawrence Moura.
Wales 3, North Macedonia 1. Craig Bellamy will be a very happy manager at the break, and Brennan Johnson has had a half to remember. 18 minutes gone, Harry Wilson, captain on the night, swatted home a penalty after Brooks was tripped. Then, double delight, 3 minutes later, Johnson showing really good pace, getting to the byline, and his left-footed cross found Brooks, who volleyed into the ground with the ball bouncing high into the far corner. And the end of that bonkers 5-minute spell then saw the away side back in it. Bojan Mijovic, excuse me, the Rangers forward broke the offside trap, racing through on goal. Keeper Darlow slipped as he came forward, and the forward's shot rolled past him into the far corner of the net. Then came the goal. Brennan Johnson cutting in. He was tight on the left-hand touchline. He took the ball forwards, then across goal, ending up just outside the penalty area, and right-footed, he cracked the ball into the far top corner. As things stand, Wales are heading for a home playoff semi-final, but after this first half was so chaotic, it's certainly not job done yet. Wales 3, North Macedonia 1.
Miofsky, I think it is. Thank you very much, Lawrence Moura. Denmark, it seems, have taken control, at least on the balance of play at Hampden Park, not on the scoreline as we approach half-time with talkSPORT's Paul Mitchell.
It is Scotland 1, Denmark 0. Scotland are 45 minutes away from a place in the World Cup in 2026. The first time since 1998 they will have been there. And well, what a start to this game. Simple crossover from the right-hand side. Scott McTominay rose, back to goal, overhead kick, low into the corner, past Kasper Schmeichel. And I'll tell you what, Hampden Park simply could not believe what they saw. 14th international goal for the Napoli man. Scotland then had a couple of little chances, but without making too much of it, and then Denmark came back into the game. They had the ball in the back of the net through Rasmus Højlund, but thankfully that was given for a handball. Robertson almost put through his own net in 26 minutes. Højlund, after Dorgu, some great work on the left-hand side, headed over. A couple of bookings so far, both come for Danish players. But I repeat, and it's something we don't often say up here, Scotland are 45 minutes away from a place in the World Cup final. Scotland 1, Denmark 0.
Still feeling very tense indeed. I'm
they
sure all
need
the
a second
Scotland
goal,
they
mate.
do need. They're not playing well at the moment at Denmark. Feeling the better, I imagine, out of the two sides in terms of how they've been playing at the end of that first half for sure, but clearly not happy with the scoreline, trailing by 1-0. Expect fireworks at Hampden Park this evening, no matter what happens. But let's speak to Kieran Maguire next from the Price of Football podcast on the truth of resale sites in football. Good evening, Kieran.
Good evening, guys.
Hi, Kieran.
Thank you for biding your time, waiting as we discuss events on the pitch.
How was Lisbon, by the way, Kieran? Enjoy it?
It was great. Yes, I had a fantastic time, and I sneaked a couple of custard tarts when I was there as well. You've got to have the local food.
Yeah, absolutely.
Castel de Nata. Yeah, delicious. Kieran, thank you so much for being with us. Clearly this evening, as we've heard, it can be very difficult for fans to get affordable tickets, whether that's for the World Cup, whether that's travelling to see their teams, particularly in the EFL. But now we see resale tickets. These pages that have popped up where some of the big clubs have partnered with resale sites. What is the truth behind them? Are they, I guess, a positive for the game if they bring in more money for clubs?
Well, the clubs would argue that that is the case. We're about to see the first £1 billion season when it comes to ticket sales, as far as Premier League clubs are concerned, and that is huge growth. Because of changing kick-off times, many fans who have season tickets can't attend individual matches because it's been switched from Saturday to Sunday or Friday or Monday, and therefore the clubs encourage the fans to resell their tickets back to the club, and the club then moves those tickets on. Now, how it chooses to do that, I think, does cause some concern amongst fans, because a lot of them are being bundled up and charged at much higher prices, especially by the resale sites. I think the clubs feel that the resale sites have got bigger reach than the clubs have themselves, and that's why they've gone down that particular route. So yes, the clubs are getting more money. Normally the fans who had the original ticket are getting their money back as well. So therefore it then comes down to a case of, are the prices being charged fair? If you talk to the big clubs, they will say that they are, because there's no empty seats at Old Trafford, at Stamford Bridge, at the Emirates, and so on.
Is it right? I mean, why do they choose to partner with resale sites? I get it that the money, they must get an extra slice. But in terms of taking care of their own fans, it must cause a lot of concern. You know, there are some clubs with great apps. If you're not going to a game and you want to give your ticket up, it's as easy as kind of just hitting a button and it gets released and other fans can come and claim them. Why is that almost not mandated across the Premier League?
Well, I think there is a very good case for having a system such as that, because the majority of the clubs that have membership schemes should really prioritise their members as opposed to putting those tickets out on the general market. I guess there's a sort of a feeling amongst some club owners that they don't want to be seen as the bad guys in this, you know, charging 150, 200, 250 quid for a ticket which has a normal sale value on a match basis of perhaps 50 or 60. So therefore, I think they're passing the buck to a certain extent. The clubs would also argue that because people are familiar with using the resale sites, you might have somebody who was perhaps thinking of coming to London, coming to Manchester, and isn't necessarily certain whether they want to watch United or City or Chelsea or Arsenal or Spurs or West Ham or Palace or Fulham, wherever it's going to be. And if they go onto the website, they will see a ticket and they just want to see a Premier League football match, and they're not actually too concerned about which team it is. So from that point of view, the resale tickets sites do serve a purpose, although, you know, as a legacy fan myself, it's not something I feel particularly comfortable with.
Kieran, do you go along with the fact that these sites do have a bigger reach than the clubs? And actually, how dangerous is social media when you see reels and videos about buying tickets off websites and they manage to attend the game?
Well, I think having official partner sites means that you get guaranteed tickets. And therefore distinguishing between those and the unofficial resale sites, which you can still get tickets from, but you are buying into a lottery system. And if that fan has travelled from overseas or travelled a fair distance to come to support the team that he or her has supported for many, many years, and then they get stung at the last minute. And that's happened to me when I've tried to do similar things to go and watch bands. The ticket will disappear at the last minute because they've managed to sell it to somebody else at a higher price. At least you won't get that going through the official resellers. So that is one benefit, but it isn't something which fits, I think, easy with traditional fandom.
We've seen a bit of news today. Reselling tickets to live events for a profit is to be banned by the government. Ministers are going to announce the plan on Wednesday in a bid to tackle touts and resale sites, often offering music, theatre, comedy and sport tickets at well above face value. What's the pushback going to be for football clubs? Do you think it will be something that ends up being a negative politically?
I think some football clubs will lobby against that. They will argue that market forces should be allowed to apply. What they might also say is that if that's going to be the route that the government's going to take, what the football club will do is that instead of perhaps selling tickets for £60 or £70 for a particular match, and then relying on the fact that if they don't sell first time round, or if they are returned, they can be resold on the secondary market for 150 through an official reseller. They'll put up the prices for the tickets initially, and perhaps we will also see some clubs saying that because this is going to make it more difficult, or is going to reduce incentives for season ticket holders, because they might be struggling to get those tickets back to the club. What they might do is go down the route of being more draconian in their approaches to season ticket holders. There are some clubs that are offering a sort of a 2 or 3 strikes and you're out approach if you don't put your tickets up. Or they might say, well, now the clubs are that much more desperate for the money. If you don't turn up to a single game during the season, we therefore reserve the right to take away your season ticket. And season tickets are a double-edged sword. For many clubs, especially the clubs in the lower divisions, they are an absolutely essential source of revenue. I think when you reach the upper reaches of the Premier League, where the big clubs, they know that they can sell every single ticket to non-season ticket holders because they are global brands in their own right. And I think they would be quite happy to find new ways and means of reducing the impact of season tickets, because they get a far lower yield on those than they do for individual match tickets.
Okay, Kieran Maguire, football finance expert. Thank you so much for being with us on Kickoff this evening on reselling. It's one of those real negatives, I think. When you're a football fan and you're desperate to get a ticket to see your team and you show up at the stadium. And I don't mind tourists going to see football matches. I think all of us would love people from around the world to experience English football because we love it so much. But when it's almost unaffordable for you and you see someone who's possibly, maybe you can't get a ticket to a game, but there are people who are paying £300, £400, £500 and they get into a match because of a third-party resale site. It's not even a loyal fan of your club who's decided to resell their ticket. It's touts who are getting memberships at every football club in the league, all the big clubs, and going on reselling them. The fact that your club would then partner with some of those and even, co-own some of those companies, it is difficult for fans to take. That's not what you want from your football club. You expect that those who show up week in, week out, home and away, would almost be prioritised by the football club. It doesn't seem to be the case.
Yeah, and it seems like in the Premier League, because there's so much money because of the broadcasting and rights and the billions that they bring in, it's almost they don't want that many season tickets because those individuals, which they know they can fill on any given home game, will be spending not just the money on the ticket and a lot of money on the ticket, but also the merchandise and food and programmes and everything. So yeah, it's something which I think needs to be kept an eye on. I have to wait and see whether the independent regulator has a look at that, but it doesn't feel right, does it?
I'd be interested to know what some of you fans think. You can give us a call. If you're an EFL fan, you think away prices are too much, you've got an idea for how things can change. If you're desperate to get a ticket to the World Cup to follow the Three Lions or another nation and you're seeing that FIFA have made it incredibly difficult, or if you've had an experience with one of those resale sites that you want to tell us about, give us a call, 03717 223344. You're listening to Kickoff on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. It's 18+, gambleaware.org, and a reminder, Scotland and Wales in the lead this evening. We'll have more very shortly. You're listening to Kick-Off on talkSPORT. Bit of a rock and roll evening already. Scott McTominay with an unbelievable goal has put Scotland in the lead against Denmark. They are 45 minutes away from a place at the World Cup next year. Remember, they haven't been at the World Cup since 1998. Could be an incredible evening for the Tartan Army. I wonder how many people would be at work tomorrow up in Scotland if they do qualify for the World Cup. Wales, the second half just underway. They're 3-1 up against North Macedonia. If they can hold on in the second half, that means they will have a home playoff for a place in the World Cup, which could be very important indeed. I wonder if that would be at the Cardiff City Stadium, where they've had so much success, or whether they would move to the Principality for a game of that magnitude. But we shall see. Fingers crossed they do win the game this evening, take all 3 points and finish in second place in Group J. Scotland fans very much enjoying their evening, as we can see above us. Anyway, updates throughout the evening here on talkSPORT. Let's try and finish off our conversation around ticket prices very quickly. We've had a couple of messages in that I wanted to read you. Randy's from the United States. Have a listen to this. Pay $2,000 a year for 2 seats for 8 home games. He goes on to say, keep up the good work with the ticket prices. That is huge for 8 home games. I wonder what team he's talking about. Or, 8 home games alone. Is that the MLS?
Is that
$2,000 a year?
Does that work out 125 per game, per person?
Yeah.
I think.
I mean, it must be a lovely seat. At least I hope it. If you're watching MLS football, maybe he's in Miami, and that's the Messi tax.
Quite possibly.
Because it's a very big price. Brandy, drop us a message. Give us the details. We need the juice.
Yeah.
Rogers in Bristol says the resale ticket sites sold to non-supporter group members are a big reason we see more of the tourist fans, and that we don't see many matches with electric atmospheres anymore. Now, that is a good point to raise, because we very much sell, particularly the Premier League, as this global product based on the intensity of the fans inside the stadium, and that can wane if people are there for a day out.
I think it's a really good point that people probably don't think, because the money men just think about the money, but actually when you're talking about wanted to create the brand and making it as good as possible, there's nothing like being in an atmospheric stadium that will make you as a player give that even 2, 3, 4, 5% more, which will then create a better game if everyone's doing that. So whether that's home or away, I think it's a really good point. You just don't want the everyday fan to be priced out. And I understand it's about money, and even though the Premier League are getting billions and it's absolutely fine and understandable, there still should be enough seats for almost the average fan who are not able to have been supporters for 30, 40 years, who was there back in the day, and now it's gone this sort of global brand and it's costing so much, should still be able to afford it. The other thing I would say on the flip side, and you can even look at it as in the EFL, is what would happen if there was a cap and then teams weren't playing well, and then the fans would be having a go at the owners for saying, well, we want more players, and they're saying, well, we've got a cap on this. We need to. This is a way for them to try and make as much money as possible. So you have to kind of understand that side.
Listen,
of it.
It would be interesting if there was a salary cap in the Premier League. Now, I don't know how they would do it, whether it would be a finite number or whether it would be a percentage of your turnover or whatever it might be. But if that happens, then surely there is a way of actually saying we can cap ticket prices, because we know that they're not going to be spending more and more and more and more money on players. All right, it's good that, the 2 levels of each amount is going to have to match up in a way that balances the books for football clubs, but surely that means you're at least able to say, right, we won't charge you any more than X for tickets.
I think it's more clear doing that way, but they should know that anyway. They should know their budget. They should know what they're willing to pay. They know what they bring in. Then they should know what they want to actually spend in the end. And if a player becomes too expensive, if an Antoine Semenyo is seen to be too expensive at 65 million, then they just don't go for it. It is what it is. You have to deal with it on that particular way. But it's an animal that's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and not just in the Premier League, but the EFL as well, because you got top clubs in the Championship wanting to chase the dream of getting into the Premier League, whereas you've got bottom clubs of the Championship who are just trying to survive. So even within that division, there's a big divide.
I used a third-party site once when I was in Italy, and I just went on Twitter, asked our wonderful talkSPORT fans, in mid-afternoon, this is for an evening game, AC Milan against Juventus, does anyone know how I might be able to get a ticket for this game? And a few people responded with a specific site, and they just said, go on here.
Wow.
And I just went on, bought 2 tickets, You know, they weren't huge money. They were probably like £100 each. But when I got to the stadium, everyone around me was British. Everyone around me was a tourist. In fact, the whole top tier, when you were going to buy a drink and stuff, and everyone on our level was a tourist. And in a way, I was kind of sad about that, because I was like, right, but we were put in the gods. We were right up in the clouds, basically. All of the people where I was sitting were tourists. I don't think that affected the atmosphere. We were furthest away from the pitch. We were all sat together. And all right, third-party sites were used, which I still think is a negative. But actually, when we're talking about the impact on atmosphere in a stadium, that might be a way of, you know, maybe there should be a tourist section. Maybe there should be a section for where we go, listen, if you just come in for the day, you're not a big fan, you don't really know much about Premier League football, these are the tickets.
Come over to this side, and if you don't want to cheer, you don't have to cheer, but, you know, pay your money.
Because so many football fans who are loyal, who buy their season ticket and pay huge money for it, are starting to say our experience of going to games has been impacted because the club doesn't care where they put us, and they don't care where they put fans, or rather visitors who aren't really fans of the club. That needs to be looked at, I think.
Yeah, but the biggest worry for me out of all of this, though, is the people who, I mean, because you can look at tickets and it can be really expensive, and then you've still got a choice as to whether you want to pay your money for that or not. I worry for the people, and Kieran touched on it there, about the sites that are affiliated with clubs and the ones that aren't. You know, are there real tickets they're selling here, and are they getting swindled that way? So that's, people are making a choice whether they want to pay it, but once they've got that ticket, they need to make sure that sites actually sell proper tickets and not fake tickets. I know that happens.
I almost didn't get into the San Siro because I bought the 2 tickets which said you had to change the name on AC Milan's site. So I went on the site to do it, but it wouldn't work. So I went to the ticket office, honestly, about 2 hours before the game, and they went, well, you had to change it on the site. And I went, yeah, but I can't, because there's a time limit 3 hours before kickoff. So what do I do now? And then she was like, well, you can't do anything. And I literally just ran around the stadium for the next 90 minutes to every single entrance, hoping that someone wouldn't check, and they would, because it had to name on the passport had to match the name on the ticket, which obviously wasn't mine. Until eventually, about 60 seconds before kickoff, someone just went, I'll just let him in.
Really?
Yeah. And that was it. So it was a very, very strange experience for me. I did get to go to the San Siro for the first time, which I loved. And as expected in Serie A, goalless draw.
And you were sitting amongst Brits, not Italians.
Exactly. Still love the experience nonetheless. We'll be back straight after this. We'll be talking about Gabriel's possible injury, possible 2 months out for Arsenal, how that might impact the title race. This is talkSPORT.
Aguero, Solskjaer, Deeney, Watkins. Sure, you know all about those last-minute goals, but have you heard the one about the on-loan goalkeeper who saved his temporary employers from disappearing out the Football League and into almost certain financial oblivion? Back in 1999, Carlisle United, managed by Nigel Pearson, were fighting to stay in the Football League. Carlisle's finances were precarious with a capital P that season, leading to a scenario where, with 3 games to go, they had to ask the FA to sanction an emergency loan deal to bring in a goalkeeper. Swindon Town's Jimmy Glass arrived at the club. His efforts in his first 2 games earned the Cumbrians 2 draws. Those vital points meant that Carlisle went into their final game of the Division 3 season, now League 2, needing to beat mid-table Plymouth Argyle in front of their own fans and hope their relegation rival Scarborough didn't win against Peterborough at home. The game at the McCain Stadium finished 1-1, and with the same scoreline at Brunton Park deep into injury time, Scarborough's fans invaded the pitch en masse, believing their Football League status was secure, convinced they'd done enough to stay up. However, there'd be one more plot twist. Carlisle won a corner in the dying seconds, and up came Jimmy Glass. In one of those you couldn't make it up moments, Glass scored from a rebounded header and was promptly swamped by teammates and thousands of fans who quite simply couldn't believe what they'd just witnessed. As for Jimmy Glass, he became an overnight celebrity, but he never played for Carlisle again, and his playing career never really kicked on after that defining moment. He took on various jobs outside of football before finding his way back into the sport as player liaison officer at Eddie Howe's Bournemouth, and most recently the general manager at non-league Wimborne. Not the fairy tale ending to one of the most Hollywood moments in football, but the name Jimmy Glass will live on forever as the scorer of that goal, arguably the most important in any club's history.
You're listening to Kickoff on talkSPORT with Hugh, Woozencroft and Chelsea FA Cup winner Scott Minto. This hour we'll discuss injury for Arsenal. Gabriel ruled out of Sunday's North London derby, but it could be 2 months out. How big a blow could that be to their Premier League title chances. We'll discuss Marco Silva and Fulham in talks over a new contract extension. Is that the best decision for both parties? We, of course, this hour will have the full-time whistle at both the Cardiff City Stadium and Hampden Park. We'll find out if Scotland can get themselves to the World Cup tonight. And we'll look ahead to the return of the Premier League this weekend. You're listening to Kickoff. Right, Scott, let's react to events firstly at Hampden Park there. Let me say, before we discuss the penalty decision, that a goal has been coming for Denmark.
Yeah.
They have started the second half much in the same way they ended the first, and that is certainly on top. And look, we're just seeing the completed passes in the game. Scotland 83, Denmark 404. So you get an indication there of the dominance they've had. But...
Well, just before we say that, and look, they've got to go again. But it's sometimes, obviously, you want to try and score at any moment in the game. But when you score too early, you can really just sit back. I think we always knew that Denmark would have the majority of the possession, but they've had 80% possession to 20. Obviously, 13 shots to 1, which obviously was Scotland's goal. They can't keep that up for the whole of the game and not expect for something to happen. But go on. It's about the big moment, isn't it?
Well, listen. We'll talk about the big moment because I just want to respond to what you've had to say there. There needs to be more changes from Steve Clarke. He's had one change in the game. Kenny McLean came on from Ben Gannon-Doak. Ben Gannon-Doak was the big threat for Scotland. His dynamism, he had the beating of his man. I think it was Patrick Dorgu down the left-hand side, and he was playing really, really well.
He made the assist.
He made the assist for the first goal. He went off injured, looked like his hamstring. He had his head in his hands. He looked like he was in tears. And that has changed the rhythm of the game for Scotland. He needs to make changes now. He's got Che Adams on the bench. He's got George Hurst of Ipswich on the bench. Kieran Tierney's there as well. Lawrence Shankland too. He needs to find something here. He needs a goal. You know, it is not worth waiting to see, oh my word, and there is a really negative moment on the pitch. Oh, it's for Denmark. It is a red card. I thought it was a Scotland player who'd seen red. Let's go straight to Paul Mitchell. This might turn the tide once again, Paul.
Rasmus Christensen has been ordered off for a second yellow card. It was a needless foul, conceded about 35 yards from goal, but he tugged on his man. The foul was committed and the referee was right there. He picked up a yellow card just before the break. Well, the Danes are going to have to do it from their perspective the hard way. Scotland now have 10 men to face. They've got 61 minutes on the clock. It's Scotland 1, Denmark 1 in this campaign, which has just seemed like always a good thing for Scotland. Always something good has happened. Well, they've got the opportunity to make it happen once more. Scotland 1, 10 men, Denmark 1.
Well, listen, we know Scotland like to do it the hard way. That is a game changer. It didn't look like he did much. I have to say, John McGinn's gone down very, very easy. He used all of his experience. I mean, their arms were interlinked for a moment, and he hasn't done anything to bring down John McGinn. It's a really, really harsh yellow card. Scotland fans won't care. Steve Clarke won't care. The reality is now, up against 10 men, Steve Clarke has to roll the dice. He needs attacking players on. He needs more dynamism. Lyndon Dykes has done his thing so far, but obviously he's got no one to really run off of him. Now we need some more tenacity, some more dynamism in that attacking part of the area for Scotland. They have an extra man. They've got half an hour. They are not going to have a better chance to reach a World Cup.
Massive. Absolutely massive. And you're right. I mean, even 11v11, he somehow had to find a way to try and wrestle back a little bit of possession, 80-20, and then the only shot on target was, on or off target, was the goal where Denmark are getting 13 of them. So, look, fingers crossed they can turn it around and get very much on the front foot and that, but need to get hold of the ball first of all.
All of that going on. We haven't even mentioned the decision. Andy Robertson, the foul was literally on the apex of the penalty area, as we heard, on the line. I don't think the Denmark player ever entered the penalty box, but Andy Robertson's foot was planted on the line. It was a foul. He didn't make contact with the ball. It kind of accidentally dribbled through his legs and he ended up taking the player down. The referee, by the way, in real time didn't even call it a free kick, but there you go. VAR's intervened and suggested it's a penalty. What I didn't like was the amount of time it took. It took around 3 minutes before they even asked the referee on the field to go and have a look at the screen. He spent about 15 seconds. He watched it once and was like, it's a penalty.
Yeah.
I don't think it was as clear cut as that. Yes, Andy Robertson had his foot on the line. Yes, it was a foul. But if the player didn't even enter the penalty box, can you really foul them on the line? Honestly, the contact was... I wish you could see it. The contact was basically on the corner of the penalty spot as the player kind of ran over the corner of the box. So he took one step outside the box, went over the corner of it and ended up outside the box, never entered the box. And there you go. Substitution straight away from Steve Clarke. Che Adams is on. Lawrence Shankland is on. 2 attackers to get the goal to take Scotland to the World Cup. We're going to keep you right up to date here on kickoff from Hampden Park, an electric Hampden Park this evening.
By the way, the line is inside the box, so if the connection was made... I know what you mean.
It's harsh.
First of all, it wasn't given in the first place.
Yeah.
So then for it to turn around and still take so long as was that inside the box, outside the box, it does feel harsh, but the line is... I just don't know if it was. That's why it took so long. They must have got the protractor out just to make sure that it
took a long time. Long time. Anyway, an update from Randy, who messaged about the ticket prices a little bit earlier on. Said he was paying $2,000 for 8 home games. An NFL fan. So that is the standard price, he says, for their tickets. 8 games, $2,000. So yeah, $150 a game. Incredible.
He's quite happy to do that.
Well, he didn't say he was happy. He just said he does it. He's a loyal fan. I'm sure he'd pay $1,000 and be happier.
I'm sure he would.
Right, we'll keep.
We'd have a freebie, but
yeah, it's true. We'll talk Arsenal and Gabriel like we said we would straight after this. So stay with us on talkSPORT. listening to Kickoff on talkSPORT. You get the feeling the next 45 minutes, next half an hour or so is going to be very, very dramatic.
22 minutes plus injury time.
Yeah, Wales very much on their way to a home playoff, 4-1 up against North Macedonia, but it is Scotland 1, Denmark 1. Denmark down to 10 men really harshly, and I still think harshly. Rasmus Højlund equalised from the penalty spot after a contentious, let's call it that, decision. Let's get an update in that game. In fact, let's head back to Hampden Park with talkSPORT's Paul Mitchell.
It's Scotland 1, Denmark 1, 69 minutes on the clock at a sold-out Hampden, and you mentioned there, Hugh, the controversy of the referee, the penalty being awarded. Scotland would think it was soft. The red card, I'll tell you what, Denmark were utterly furious by the second decision there. There was absolutely no doubt about that. But Denmark have continued to try and pass the ball around the pitch. They've slowed things down when they can. They have made a change. Yannick Vestergaard of Leicester City is on the field for Mikael Damsgaard, so they're trying to slow it down. Scotland have brought on Shea Adams and Lawrence Shankland, so Torino and Hearts are trying to get Scotland towards the World Cup. But as it stands, Scotland would be in the playoff. Denmark would be the ones going through automatically. It's 1-1. We've got 20 minutes plus stoppage time to play. What a 20 minutes in stoppage time it's going to be here at Hampden.
And the red wall is full of song at the Cardiff City Stadium. A cracking goal to round off things for Lawrence Moura.
Yeah, captain Harry Wilson at the double. Wales 5, North Macedonia 1. And this was a free kick, right-hand side of the penalty area, in the far corner of the penalty area. And it's whipped over the wall by Wilson into the back of the net. If you think about Bale's goal against Austria in that World Cup playoff in 2022, it was very much like that, just whipped over the wall with his left foot. The goalkeeper sprawling, no chance of getting it. It's been a glorious evening for Craig Bellamy's team. They scored a cracker in the second half. Brooks into Wilson. Wilson with a little flick between his legs. Dan James raced onto it, and he finished into the far corner. And that was added to goals in the first half by Brooks, Wilson from the penalty, and an absolute stormer from Brennan Johnson. Been quite the night for Craig Bellamy's team. 76 gone. They have got that playoff home semi-final in the bag, you think, from here. Wales 5, North Macedonia 1.
Yeah, it would be quite a miracle if North Macedonia were to come back from this point. It looks like Kieran Tierney being readied at Hampden Park, by the way, and I wonder if that allows... good chance for Denmark. I wonder if that allows Andy Robertson to maybe get forward a little bit more and provide some quality in the final third for Steve Clark. We shall see.
Even with 10 men, they're creating chances, aren't they, Denmark?
Yeah, you have to say Denmark have played better on the evening. Certainly not a vintage performance from Scotland, but they won't care as long as they can get that second goal that will take them to the World Cup.
Just want to mention Harry Wilson as well. Wonderful strike, that free kick. But actually, when it really mattered at 0-0, he stepped up and took that penalty. Great penalty.
It was a great penalty, yeah. Right, let's talk Arsenal next. Not the news that the Gunners fans will want, of course. Sitting top of the Premier League at the moment, I think 5 points clear, so the season going almost perfectly. But Gabriel has been ruled out of Sunday's North London derby. The Brazilian defender estimated to be out between 1 and 2 months. I have to say, that estimation, the low end of it, you're like, okay, we can manage 2 months. They don't want to be missing Gabriel for 2 months, that's for sure, because he has been so incredible. A lot of Arsenal fans saying maybe even more important than William Saliba in terms of what they've been doing defensively. It is a huge blow, I think, for them.
Do you know what? They've got cover. I said at the start of the season, and I predicted at the start of the season Arsenal would win the Premier League, just purely because of the strength of depth of their squad. And they've clearly got that. Saliba's still fit, of course. They've got Nkapie, they've got Mosquera, they've got Calafiori, who can play as a centre half.
He's got a bit of a knock as well after the injury.
He has, but apparently I've heard he's going to be okay.
Okay.
But Gabriel, it's one thing to have a good squad, and it's so important to have a good squad. But actually, key members within your first 11 are so important. I think he's one of those real key members, more so now than Saliba, just because of the way you can see that he wears the captain armband when there's a couple of people injured. There's goals that he scores going forward, as well as he's that one who is verbally communicating to all his back four, to his midfielders, to get back in, to sit there. So in that sense, if he hasn't overtaken Saliba, then he's certainly on a par with him. So although they have got players who can come in and be very good, and I've liked the look of Mosquera, I think he's done well, Nkapie as well, and Calafiori, which hopefully I'd like to see Miles Lewis-Skelly playing as a left back, so Calafiori can move over. But I still think that's a big blow. I still think that's really important. He's one of their very, very key players.
Yeah, yeah. Both boxes, absolutely incredible. And it's an interesting one because whatever you say about Arsenal, they're a very good side. They have been very strong at set pieces, which is obviously not a negative, just that he's a huge part of that. So it's a big part of their Arsenal, no puns intended. And without him, I think it may be easier to defend Arsenal at set pieces because you need to put 2 or 3 players around Gabriel. The way that he attacks the ball is absolutely incredible. So it's a tough one.
But no, got to say, no. Arsenal fans cannot complain. I'm sure they won't, but they can't complain because this is what the Premier League is all about. And this is arguably the best squad Arsenal, well, you could maybe even argue this best squad, not necessarily the best 11, but the best squad they've ever had. This is what it's all about. Players stepping in now. Now is your opportunity.
I said Harry Wilson had rounded things off with that free kick. Maybe spoke too soon because the man himself maybe has an opportunity to seal a hat-trick this evening. There's a penalty at the Cardiff City Stadium for talkSPORT's Lawrence Mora.
Wales 5, North Macedonia 1, 80 on the clock. Harry Wilson has the chance for a hat-trick. He's put the ball on the spot. He won it with a beautiful little roll back in the penalty area, sending the defender one way, pushed it past the next and had his ankles taken out. Harry Wilson, captain for the evening, said he dreamed of being Wales captain from the moment he made his debut at just 16. He's had to wear the armband tonight. Left-footed, he sends the goalkeeper the wrong way. Celebrates with a fist pump in front of the Campton stand. Harry Wilson, Captain Marvel. It's Wales 6, North Macedonia 1.
That's absolutely fantastic, isn't it, for Harry Wilson? Gets the captain, his country, in front of his home fans, and he scores a hat-trick as well. Once again, a great penalty for him. I think he's growing as a player, Harry Wilson, maturity-wise, but actually confidence-wise. I think the quality's been there. Even as a young player, I was surprised really that Liverpool wanted him to go, but watching him in the EFL, again felt, he's maybe a little bit lightweight, but there's definitely a player there. And I think as the years have gone by, especially with the experience that you get in international football, which I think a lot of people underrate. I think players in the EFL more and more need to go and take international football if that's an option for you. There's a lot who I think shun it and just think, well, if I'm never going to play for England, I'm not going to play international football at all. Because I think if you want to get to the Premier League, these kind of experiences, playing against different teams from around the world, actually do help you develop. And obviously, for a lot of those smaller nations, players playing in the EFL have a bigger responsibility. I think the confidence grows from there. Harry Wilson, 5 goals in 5 matches in qualifying now. Tonight's helped his stats. No end.
Absolutely. I mean, look, one, it raises your profile, but two, he wouldn't have been captain, wouldn't he, if Ethan Ampadu didn't get a yellow card in the last game and therefore it was given to him. And not in any way am I saying that he's the man to replace Gareth Bale, because no one person can replace Bale. But what I would say is I think he's the one person for Wales who has really stepped up. And you talk about 5 and 5. He's been doing this for a period of time now. And yeah, stay fit, do what you do. You can see how proud he is and how proud the Welsh are to play for their country as well. And there's lots of really good attacking players that Wales have. But I feel for his country, he's probably the standout one.
Just to finally round off our conversation on Arsenal, because there is the North London derby on Sunday, obviously huge fixture for both clubs. Gyökeres, Havertz, Martinelli, Madueke all doubts, Odegaard out at the moment as well. So they've got a few injuries. Arsenal, do they have anything to be concerned about taking on Spurs?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's a North London derby. They would expect to win. They know that this is the biggest game that for Spurs of their season, so they'll be absolutely up for this. And they have got a number of players out injured, so it's not something that Mikel Arteta would have been wanting. But and again, I always say that for any, I'll be careful to choose my words here, because I'm not saying that Spurs are a small team, but any team that's playing against one of the real big boys, and you have to say Arsenal right now are the big boy of the Premier League, I think it's the perfect time to be playing them straight after an international break because of injuries.
I can't believe I'm saying this.
Wow, go on.
Goal at Hampden Park for talkSPORT's Paul Mitchell.
Scotland 2, Denmark 1, and Lawrence Shanklin, who was shunned from the squad earlier on in this campaign, off the bench. The ball came in from a corner, it fell to him and he tucked it home from close range. Scotland are now 12 minutes away from a World Cup qualification. Lawrence Shankland has put them ahead. Scotland 2, Denmark 1.
Absolutely incredible. Scotland are on their way to the World Cup. Well, they got about 13 or so minutes.
He's left on his own there, isn't he?
It's one of the craziest goals you'll see because Lawrence Shankland literally standing 1 yard out in the middle of the goal. Everyone else attacks the ball, including 2 Denmark defenders, and one of them flicks it and takes it off the head of his teammate, Pierre-Emile Højbjerg, and it ends up landing at the foot of Lawrence Shankland, completely unmarked, a yard out. Guess what? That is Scotland's second shot in the game. They have scored twice. Denmark have had 17 shots. And that red card, that second yellow card, from, by the way, one of the best officials in the game, was almost a phantom foul. Could cost Denmark their spot, at least automatically, at the World Cup. As it stands, with just over 10 minutes to play, Scotland top of Group C and on their way to the World Cup. Incredible.
That is one of the worst defended goals I think I've ever seen. And what was really interesting is that Shankland was the only one who didn't move. Scotland players moved sort of towards the ball, and then Denmark players almost tried to play offside from the corner. And then it suddenly came through to him, and he's there literally not even a yard out. Comes off his shin or his knee, but in right place, right time. Just shocking defending, absolutely.
It was like, you ever been snorkeling when all the fish just in a school of fish, they all just go together. You wave your hand out and they all just swim around it. It was literally like that, and he just stood there on his own.
But well done to him. I mean, that's the proper goal scorer, isn't it? Realising, no, I'm going to stay in between the sticks. Great ball in.
Che Adams at the corner.
Was it Che Adams?
Yeah. The thing is, Denmark is still on the attack and still making inroads despite having a player left. This game is not over. No. 10 minutes to go at Hampden Park. Absolutely incredible. We'll continue our conversation next by checking in on both games, and we will also, of course, discuss Marco Silva and a possible contract extension at Fulham. You're listening to Kick Off on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. It's 18+, gambleaware.org. This is Kickoff on talkSPORT. Hugh, Woozencroft and Scott Minto, former Chelsea defender, are with you. We said the last 10 minutes at Hampden Park was going to be dramatic. There's been another goal for talkSPORT's Paul Mitchell. Have Scotland sealed it, or are Denmark back in it?
Sadly, Scotland have not sealed the deal. It is Scotland 2, Denmark 2. The goal coming from Manchester United's Patrick Dorgu. I have to say, from a Danish point of view, just brilliant football. Great play, built up nicely. The ball was rolled back by Anders Christensen onto Dorgu, who slipped it into the bottom corner of the net. 2 apiece at Hampden, 5 minutes plus stoppage time to play. Shea Adams is already headed wide as Scotland look to respond. At the moment, it's Denmark that are going through, but Scotland with a chance. Brilliant block. Brilliantly taken away by Patrick Dorgu. Scotland's Lewis Ferguson thought he was going to go on target. What a final few minutes we've got in store here, but at the moment it's advantage to Denmark. Scotland 2, Denmark 2.
There has been a goal at the Cardiff City Stadium before we dissect events at Hampden for Lawrence Mora.
It's a goal and the full-time whistle. Wales 7, North Macedonia 1. This is a North Macedonian team that came into this game having only conceded 3 goals in 7 qualifiers to this point. Drawn home and away with Belgium, and they have been put to the sword this evening. The final goal coming from a corner on the right, whipped in by Sorba Thomas. A header by Isaac Davis, who'd just come off the bench on his debut. He thought he'd scored, but Nathan Broadhead stuck out a foot just ahead of the line and finished it off. His second goal in 4 games, but it's all about captain Harry Wilson this evening, taking the armband for the first time. Ben Davies is injured, Aaron Ramsey's injured, Ethan Ampadu is suspended, so it fell on Harry Wilson. Craig Bellamy said to me yesterday, well, there was no one else. Well, Harry Wilson said it was a dream to captain Wales, his dream, and he's got a hat-trick of the dream night for him. Started off with a penalty in the first half. He opened the scoring. The second goal came from David Brooks from Brennan Johnson's pullback. Then the third, and it was Brennan Johnson this time cutting in from the left-hand side, right-footed, cracked it into the top corner. Second half, Harry Wilson again at the heart, setting up Dan James with a lovely little back flick. Dan James made it 4, and well, after that it was Wilson from a free kick on the left-hand side, and then a penalty to wrap up the hat-trick. Wow. What a night at the Cardiff City Stadium. Wales have secured second place in the group. That means that they will have a home semi-final in the playoffs. They'll go into pot 2. That means they'll play at home against a team from pot 3. Could be the Republic of Ireland. But we'll wait and see. The draw is on Thursday. But for now, Craig Bellamy has a huge smile on his face, and Harry Wilson has thrown the ball to the kit man to make sure that that does not leave the stadium without his name on it. It's finished here at the Cardiff City Stadium. Wales 7, North Macedonia 1.
Could be any ball, really. Multi-ball system, but there you go. I'm sure he scored them in different balls. Anyway,
big night. The kit man will now take it and keep the real ball and give him another one.
Give him any ball later on, whatever, mate. No, very, very good night for Harry Wilson and Wales. 7-1 on the night.
Amazing result,
for Craig. Fantastic
against
result.
North Macedonia.
I mean, let's very quickly talk about Scotland. I think we have to. There's a few minutes of the 90 left. They just went very close, by the way. John McGinn almost caught curling the ball into the top corner, a whisker away. They've played terribly this evening, Scotland, and I think Scotland fans calling the sports bar very, very quickly will be fuming if they can't find a winner in the last few moments of this game. I actually said to you before Patrick Dorgu scored that equaliser for Denmark, I said Scotland have made Denmark look like France tonight, because with 10 men, after they just conceded that second goal, they were really positive, they were playing well on the ball, they were moving up the pitch, and it didn't look like they had a player less than Scotland, and you were looking at the organisation of the team, but when the ball dropped, not just does it land on the chest of a Denmark player in the penalty area, he's able to bring the ball down, and he's actually able to set up Patrick Dorgu, who has a shot from about 8 yards out, and there's no one there to block it. You've just gone 2-1 up. You're 10 minutes away from a place in the World Cup. What is going on in that Scotland defence, in that team in terms of organisation, that Denmark was so easily able to create a chance at goal?
Well, look, it's a mentality thing. It's being so worried about you're this close, but can you see it out? Are you brave enough, actually, first and foremost, to get on the ball and to not allow a 10-man Denmark to be on the front foot all the time in the way that they were with 11? Let's not forget, they went down to 10 men with what was a shocking decision for him to be sent off, Christensen. And then you go and get that goal. So then it's like, right, see the game out. And they've just not been able to do that. Again, I think the nerves have got too much. And this is a decent Denmark side. They've got good individual players, but it's certainly not a great one. And Rasmus Højlund, who did you compare him to?
Well, I said tonight, and I think it is a fair comparison, but he's looked like prime Ibrahimovic this evening in terms of when the ball goes into the penalty area. He's literally just been palming off Scotland centre-backs all night. These are people 10 years older than him, grizzled defenders, I get it. And he's a big lad, but we know that Rasmus Højlund is not the greatest player in the world. He's looked like a superstar this evening, except for he hasn't finished like a superstar striker. But every other facet of his game has been top-notch this evening. And when they took him off 10 minutes from time, I was kind of shocked. They probably would go and win the game because it was as simple as knock it into him, get runners off him, and he was just every time holding it up, playing it into a Denmark fee, and Scotland had nothing to stop him.
They obviously only need to draw, and that's why they've made
they've
the
gone defensive now.
Absolutely, and completely understandably so. But in terms of the actual goal, there's a player who's on his left foot on the right-hand side. You've got one Scotland player just staying off him, allowing the cross, but no one's actually come over to help him. You've got that extra man. You've got to be really you're under pressure, obviously. Just everybody just go towards the ball. And no one did. And there was 3 phases of play there that they should have got rid of it, and they didn't.
Yeah, Kieran Tierney could have easily headed it out as well. Let's break now, because when we return, 6 minutes added, 1 minute of added time already played. We'll have the full-time whistle at Hampden Park. Hopefully when we're back, there's been a goal. Stay with us on talkSPORT. Well, when you left us, I said, I hope we get a goal at Hampden in the next few minutes, and a goal we've got for talkSPORT's Paul Mitchell.
Scotland 3, Denmark 2. The unlikeliest of scorers, Kieran Tierney up from the back. The ball was played across the 18-yard box. A clearance was sliced by Hillman right into the path of Tierney, and he finished wonderfully past a despairing diving Kasper Schmeichel. We are in the final minute of the 6 minutes of additional time, and Scotland are currently on the attack. It's Lewis Ferguson who's taking it down to the corner. Scotland are just trying to hold on. Denmark do look beaten at the moment. They're going to have to try and give it everything. One last attack, perhaps, Patrick Dorgu, but at the moment Scotland are qualifying. It's gone long. Hanley is inside the area, he has to knock the ball away. Time was 15 seconds of the additional time being played. The referee checks his watch once more. There'll be one final chance for Denmark. Hampden is waiting to erupt. The Scottish bench are right on the very edge of the technical area. The ball is crossed into the Scottish box. The header down, it's missed, and Craig Gordon says clear that ball away, and it's done so by Kieran Tierney, the man whose goal has separated these sides. Scotland 3, Denmark 2. Kasper Schmeichel is up. He's crossed the ball up towards the edge of the area. Hanley gets the header away. Scotland want the full-time whistle. Denmark might get another chance. Brilliant touch from Dorgu. Dorgu clips it into the middle. Scotland clear. Scotland have it. The referee surely will now decide that time is up. The ball is forward onto Shea Adams. Adams is just going to take that for a walk. Adams midway inside his opponent's half. Now he goes towards the corner flag. Scotland 3, Denmark 2. Hampden is waiting. Shea Adams plays the ball behind. The referee says goal kick. He continues to look at his watch. He's indicating a single digit in the air. He's indicating that there will be another minute to be played. Scotland, well, they were pummeled early doors, but they found their way to lead by 3 goals to 2. They got that early goal, then it was all Denmark. Denmark got the penalty kick. It's been incredible stuff here, Hugh. What a night it is at Hampden.
It's an unbelievable night. It's an unbelievable scoreline. Scotland could only really have done it in one way, which was with deep, deep drama late on in the game, because they played so poorly this evening. You have to feel for Denmark, who dominated the game. They came away from home, and the decision from Simon Marciniak to send off Christiansen was the moment that turned the tide. It was all Denmark for around about an hour before then.
Scotland has gone for goal, and it's in! Scotland are going to the World Cup finals! Kenny McLean has launched the ball over the head of Kasper Schmeichel. 50,000 inside Hampden go crazy, and Scotland have done it for the first time since 1998. Scotland 4, Denmark 2. Hampden can hardly believe it, but what a night this is for Scotland.
Well, in the words of a man who I'm sure is cheering right now, the great Sir Alex Ferguson, football, bloody hell. I mean, absolutely incredible. Kenny McLean went, I've got a runner to the left, runner to the right, I'm inside the centre circle, what should I do? I know. I'll lob Kasper Schmeichel from 50 yards out to score from just inside his own half. He can't quite believe it, and I'm not sure anyone at Hampden Park can quite believe what they've just seen. Scotland 4, Denmark 2. The full-time whistle still hasn't gone, Scott, but Scotland
whistle has not gone there, hugging themselves all over. Denmark are looking, I think they think it's over. They've taken the shirts off, and indeed the referee has blown the whistle. The game is over, the campaign is over, but thankfully, at long last, the wait for Scotland is over.
Paul, I sense your emotion, and it's going to be mirrored by Scotland fans around the world, and of course here, who've been through so many trials and tribulations. The passionate Tartan army who wanted to see their team back with the world's best, and on so many occasions have fallen just short. This time the moment is sweet. Like I say, they were terrible, but who cares? They're on their way to the World Cup.
It's absolutely incredible around here, Hugh and Scott. There were grown men crying, I have to tell you. I genuinely didn't think we'd see this again. Scotland have struggled for so long to get back to the World Cup, but they've been a little bit fortunate in this campaign. But in previous campaigns, things have gone against them, so I think they'll certainly take it tonight. Hampden is dancing apart from one small slice of red and white of Danish fans. They will have to settle for a playoff place. They will also, I reckon, get slaughtered by their press for that draw against Belarus and then not coming to Hampden Park tonight. But Scotland win a group to qualify for the first time since the Euros of 1992. They've qualified in front of the home fans for a World Cup for the first time since 1990. It is a magical night round Hampden. There are hugs all round from the backroom staff. There are very few people leaving this stadium. They're going to salute their heroes. But what a night, automatic qualification for Scotland. Who can believe it?
The emotion is incredible. All the Scotland players out there on the pitch, and you can see it. Steve Clarke, you can see the emotion because he's gone red. I mean, deep purple probably, but you get it. He's feeling the moment. He's feeling the exhilaration. He's the kind of man that doesn't cry, but I think we know that he can, and tonight there probably will be a few tears because he's been questioned, Paul. His approach to games has been questioned. Whether he was going to be the manager to have this moment for Scotland so many times has been questioned. He almost wasn't the Scotland manager at this point. He will now be seen as a legend in Scottish football for taking Scotland back to the World Cup.
Well, he certainly will. This is his fourth qualifying campaign. He has qualified Scotland 3 times, and the other one was a playoff loss in the semi-final. He has done remarkably well when it's come to competitive football. His Achilles heel has been friendlies. I mean, in the end of the day, who cares about friendlies? That has certainly been the problem that he's had, and he's certainly taken a bit of stick along the way. But tonight he's hugging his backroom staff, and everybody now loves Steve Clarke. It might be his swan song taking Scotland to that World Cup final in Canada, the USA and Mexico. He has talked about stepping down after this campaign, but if he's going to have a swan song, what a song it is going to be. The Scotland team are all over the stadium. They've now congregated in the far corner, waving to the fans. They'll do a lap of honour. As I say, nobody is leaving this place, Hugh. They are going to milk this success for all that it's worth, and you cannot blame them.
Yeah, there's a few texts going in to employers all over Scotland at the moment. I think I'm coming down with something a little bit groggy. If you're out in Glasgow, Edinburgh tonight, anywhere across Scotland, I'm sure you'll be hearing it from your neighbours right now. They'll be out in the streets. Scotland are on their way to the World Cup in 2026. They'll be back at Mexico. So many great memories for the Tartan Army back in '86. United States and Canada as well. Get your sun cream at the ready, Scotland fans, because next summer is going to be incredible for you. You can, of course, respond to everything you've seen tonight. Scotland and Wales fans hitting 7 against North Macedonia in Cardiff here on talkSPORT. The Sports Bar on the way. 03717 22 33 44. Scott Minto. Let's talk about those 2 final goals, by the way, because they were absolute crackers. Kieran Tierney whipping one in with his trusty left foot, and Kenny McLean from inside his own half lobbing Kasper Schmeichel. The execution was absolutely perfect.
Well, look, I wanted Scotland to win, but I've got no real skin in the game. It doesn't bother me if they actually don't. But I'm there thinking, oh my goodness.
Wasn't Steve Clarke an ex-teammate?
Yeah, so I was...
No skin in the game?
Just about to say, in terms of Clarkey, yeah, I mean, a really underrated player, and he never got to make it as in the World Cup as a player. So I couldn't be happier for him. But my goodness me, what were the range of emotions that the Scottish fans must have gone through almost throughout that whole game. But when they get a player sent off, they go 2-1 up, and then, right, we've got to see it out. 2-2, 3-2. I mean, it was a wonderful goal from Kieran Tierney. It really was. And what is Kenny McLean doing shooting when you're 3-2 up to know that if you can lose the ball and go and concede, you've got to then go into the playoffs. But 50 yards out, he's lobbed Kasper Schmeichel. I mean, what just an incredible day, an incredible moment, an incredible time for not just for Steve Clarke but for Scotland as well. As you say, the first time in the World Cup this century.
Well, listen, I was going to say to Paul, how important is this for Scottish football as a whole? There's a lot of people who've been down on Celtic of late. They've been down on Rangers too in terms of what they've been producing. We've seen the Scottish teams in Europe really not making the strides that Scottish fans would have hoped to see, and the national team will now deliver something for them that will last decades in the memory.
Yeah, I think Scotland have needed this. You've mentioned Celtic and Rangers have both changed managers mid-season, something that's never happened in their history before. They have been a little bit of a mess on the field and off the field. Positives for Scottish football have been the rise of Hearts, who are currently top of the Scottish Premiership, but you sense that Scotland enjoyed going to the Euros. But the big one, and we all know it, we've all grown up with it, is the World Cup. That's where you want to be, and as a kid growing up, Scotland always qualified for the World Cup, it seemed, and now a whole new generation of fans are going to get that opportunity to see their team at a World Cup. I think it means the world to Scottish football. I mean, there's 50,000 inside this stadium. Still no Scottish fan has left. They're looking at the lap of honour that's going on. The hugs and handshakes are still going all around me. And what was interesting is when that goal from Kenny McLean went in, the whole press area just rose as one as well. We couldn't believe the callousness of Kenny McLean, and well, that's what it was. And Kasper Schmeichel, well, he's going to take a little bit of ribbing when he gets back to Celtic. I don't think there's too much doubt about that. But the board here says World Cup, here we come. And Scotland are coming. The Tartan Army have received their call-up papers and they're ready to go.
Paul Mitchell, thank you very much indeed. We'll have reaction from Hampden Park in Sports Bar. Scotland fans, come on, get on the phone. You want to celebrate that, don't you? 03717 223344. I'm sure Jason Cundy had his Has Anyone Seen very much lined up until those final few moments of the game. So you can certainly give him what for.
The Scottish fans have got to pick themselves up for the floor after what they've just experienced the last 90 minutes. Just incredible.
Denmark came to Hampden Park needing just a draw. They had 70% possession in the game.
Yeah.
They had 18 shots at goal, and they leave the stadium. By the way, expected goals, 2.17 for Denmark, who scored twice, 1.73 for Scotland, who scored 4 times. I mean, it was just the craziest game, and maybe it had to be that way for Scotland to go through.
Well, Scotland fans will say that only we could do it that way.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, the only scoreline that matters or stat that matters is the 4-2. And yet, even with 10 minutes to go, you're thinking, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And yet somehow they found a way. That Tierney goal was the moment. That was just nothing short of sensational. And even to take it first time, brilliantly whipped in, giving the keeper Schmeichel no chance whatsoever. Wonderful strike. To make it 4-2, Kenny McLean will live off that. I'm sure he will for the rest of his life, and so he should. But yeah, incredible game.
It is going to be an absolutely superb night on the Sports Bar. Jamie O'Hara and Jason Cundy are going to be with you straight after this. Wales fans, a home semi-final for you, 2 games away from a World Cup, but you, of course, are fighting on, and you may well join Scotland. The Tartan Army are on their way to the World Cup. 03717 223344. It's going to be a heck of a night here on talkSPORT. Don't go anywhere.